All right, guys, we are back. We're going to try this again. We are at least going to give this a shot here. So, first things first, let's move over to Hannah Claire. Let's see if we got Hannah Claire in the shot. So please go ahead, Hannah Claire, talk.
Hey, guys. Did you miss us? We are back. Hopefully you can hear us without any crackling.
All right, now, Shane, go ahead.
What's up? It's good to be back. We had a little seance.
Let me know if, guys, what it says.
Got rid of all the bad stuff, hopefully.
Guys, are we good?
They're looking happy in the
chat. We good, guys?
Crisis actors. Look at you guys reassembling somewhere new.
All right. All right. Now, one more check. Now, double check, guys. I want to make sure it's working in 3 camera. Are we good?
Yep, they said it sounds good.
Right.
All right, guys.
Here we
now
go.
that I'm done having an annoying... and don't now guys, the hell with it. If it's bad, too bad.
The thing is, you could just leave it on me the whole time, and I'll talk literal nonsense. I'll just read you Yahoo article headlines for like what? How long is this thing? An hour?
Yes. All right, guys. Well, thank you. Took a couple of years off my life, but I'm learning to be less difficult, less hard on myself.
You hustled. We had some great help. It came together, and we're back.
Brett reminded me of like a dad when you're hustling to get to a flight on time, and I'm like, haha, we're gonna make it work. It's all gonna be fine.
Yes.
He's like you have to be serious right now.
Or the world will burn.
I don't have it in me to not be serious in these situations because, like, actually, I don't know. If I was like not like if I was on IRL and this happened, I'd be like, not my problem.
Right.
But like when it's your problem.
No, it always stinks. I felt bad to see. I felt like I did bring in some type of ghost.
Are you being haunted? Do we need to get some holy water here?
In an upcoming chapter that we're going to release soon on the website, a witch does tell me that I'm possessed by multiple ghosts. So multiple, yeah.
Is that better than being possessed by one? Like they cancel each other out, they distract each other?
Instead of like a home, I'm like an apartment building for ghosts.
Fun.
And they all just kind of pay rent.
There's a show on CBS right now called Ghosts where like they live in like a bed and breakfast with ghosts.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Starring Rose McIver.
It's just my childhood.
All right, guys, we're just going to go ahead and get right into it.
You guys want to hear about my favorite Hallmark movie then? If we're going to talk about this?
Yeah.
There is a Hallmark movie. It's a Christmas Hallmark movie that the description is like a busy lady lawyer becomes the executor for a failing bed and breakfast. And when she gets there, she realizes it's home to a handsome but cursed ghost.
Oh, handsome,
And I think of the phrase handsome but cursed ghost more often than I'd like to admit.
Yeah.
And I actually watch that movie every Christmas now.
Oh.
I watched it randomly in college one time, or like put it on the background to have something going, and like it is a fine piece of work by Hallmark.
I'm changing my bio to handsome but cursed ghost.
Yes, you need to.
I feel great about this.
Anyways.
Perfect. All right, guys, we're just going to go ahead and get right the heck into it.
Wait, can I read our first super chat?
Yes,
That's a good one. Jonathan Harris, who has been loyal and helped us with the audio issues, said, plot twist, the audio issues were manufactured to generate 15 crisis parties. Good job, Hannah Claire. I didn't know you had it in you. If you guys don't know, when we get 15 consecutive crisis parties, Brett's going to bleach his hair.
What?
The ghosts love it.
Can we do that live on air?
Yes, that's what I'm advocating for.
I said it has to be longer.
He's putting up all these stipulations.
No,
he doesn't realize he doesn't have a choice. He already committed.
It's up to the crisis actors.
He already got to make. Yeah. I said 10. He said 15.
And I heard that if we get to 35 crisis parties, he's going to get elf ears.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is going to come and shake his head unhappily.
Yes. Yeah. Disapproving dad.
I kind of like don't even want to do subject one now because subject one was like all serious and important, and I wanted to like make good points about corporate structure and the problems with modern identity politics.
You prepared for the show, and the crisis party was like, no, we will not let you just be.
No, the audio issues were like, no.
The studio was like, Brett seems too serious about his job. We've got to throw him a loop.
That's what it is.
This just goes to show you that there's a deep state in Hollywood that's trying to prevent you from speaking the truth to power, Brett.
That's
guys, the crisis actors are back. I mean, this money is getting a little out of control.
I make it rain.
Guys, we are going to get right into it. So it says, we are getting right into it. It says, why Warner Brothers Discovery issues are beyond Batgirl. This is a fascinating article, if I do say so myself. So basically the idea here is that they're saying that because David Zaslav wants to cancel because he canceled all these projects. He's both a bigot, but they also make the point that it's corporate structure. So what is it? Is he a bigot or is he a soulless capitalist investor? What is it, right? That's the question I have. So I want to go through most of this article. So we've got everything going. I think, Shane, I took your name off there. I'm going to put your name back on
Handsome,
there.
Put ghost. Handsome but cursed ghost.
Please.
Handsome but cursed ghost.
I'm putting it back on there.
Handsome
Have
but
no
cursed
fear.
ghost, Brett.
Have no
Cursed
fear.
ghost.
Have no fear. Have no fear. Have no fear.
Brett is like, stop talking to
editing
me.
this episode is going to be a nightmare. So it says months before the Justice
Guys,
Department.
I had to go out with a bang on my last episode. Although I will say here now, I did nothing to cause the audio issues.
Her fingers are crossed.
Months before
You are haunted. You're in a haunted apartment complex for ghosts.
we're starting.
Brett's getting
Months
mad,
before
guys.
the
Death
Justice.
mad.
Months before the Justice Department blessed the $43 billion Warner Brothers Discovery merger, 30 members of Congress warned the agency in a letter that the resulting competition vacuum could allow the newly formed giant to ignore what consumers want. Among the antitrust concerns they pressed was that it could dampen diverse and inclusive programming, which has become common criticism after Warner Brothers Discovery canned its $90 million HBO Max Batgirl film. And here's the funny part. This studio is $55 billion in debt. And in the last, since he took over, 4 weeks ago, they've created about $852 million in write-offs through canceling programs. Do you believe, and I'm just going to get to my point initially, do you believe that your identity markers are worth $1 billion?
What would you say my identity markers are?
If you were in this cast, if you're Leslie Grace, if you're the directors of this film, if you're the ones who are championing this concept that it's that they're hurting people by doing it, is it worth $1 billion? I'm not making the points as cogently as I would have liked because we've been thrown all over the map here. But basically, they fear that their combined market power between Discovery Plus, and Warner Brothers Media is going to prevent stuff like this from getting made. I push back on that. So it says there's no indication with Batgirl that they'll shop around. They can't do that. They're not going to shop that around. It says Democratic rep. It's a Joaquin Castro.
Why? Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
In the 4 months since the deal closed, Zaslav has overhauled the entertainment powerhouse. During an August 4th earnings call, he trumpeted a 10-year plan to reset DC Studios, shelving Batgirl, part of a cost savings plan and push to pivot away from, basically they want to stop doing movies on streaming and go back to working in theaters for movies, right? They also canceled all their live action kids content. What's up?
I'm just happy.
Okay.
I'm just enjoying my time here.
Okay.
Collecting cash.
Oh my
So,
god.
is it funny?
Brett, I'm serious, I swear.
So the message was clear. Batgirl doesn't live up to Warner's new standards for theatrical releases and has no place on its streaming plans because it's a movie and not a show. But I want to point out that the Journey Smollett-led Black Canary movie is still moving forward. The Blue Beetle movie is still moving forward. There's absolutely still diverse films in the pipeline, but this is the problem I have with it. Once you pander to these causes, it's really I almost have no sympathy for them for having these articles written about them, because once you pander to this type of market, it's all you're ever going to get, and you can't go back.
Nope,
right?
Stuck. Maybe the movie's just bad though.
That's
just
the thing.
really, really bad.
So it says experts question if these moves indicate that the newly merged company has too much market power under antitrust laws, which seek to promote innovation, choice, and product variety. Merger enforcers consider it a deal with will incentivize the company to withdraw a product that's a significant number of customers strongly prefer. So my question is, if people strongly prefer this, like they're saying, why would a soulless, profit-driven corporate executive cancel it in the first place?
His greed is in conflict with his. I don't want to say the bad R word ever allowed, but what they're saying, he's a horrible person.
And they saved $20 million by canceling this movie, which barely takes a dent.
How much?
$20 million.
Okay.
Which cost $90 million, would have cost another $50 to $60
cost $90 million
before marketing.
What?
Before marketing.
What cost
What are
$90
they
million
spending
for
their money
Batgirl?
on? This doesn't make any sense at all.
Here's the other thing. They killed dozens of projects. I have a list here. I don't think you guys have that tab pulled up. It says 12. These are things that have just been removed from the streaming service. So this is just saving server space. Aquaman, King of Atlantis, Close Enough, Ellen's Next Great Designer, Esme and Roy. It's not just underrepresented groups that are getting canned here, but that's what they want you to believe.
Yeah. I think part of this is, do you think that if they thought they could have made money off of this, or that enough people would have watched it,
They would have never made any. How do you even how do you judge that when it's on a streaming platform and there's no ticket sales?
Yeah.
Increased channel growth or increased revenue?
Whoa!
Oh, hey!
Thank you, guys. That is a benefit considering that it is.
Guys, Brett's gonna beat himself up about the audio issues for the next year.
It's the first segment is not going to be. I'm so excited about the first segment.
No, this is still good. It's
Warner Brothers Discovery's reputation. I will agree with one thing that they're putting in here is that they're saying Warner Brothers Discovery's reputation with creators is going to suffer from this because people are going to wonder if they're going to start working on something and then everything will get canceled.
You don't see this as like an integrity move in any way. Plus, I want to revert back to my point from the other day. If you are a writer in Hollywood, I am sure that you have had more things get thrown out than ever make it this far into production. Right. This is kind of how it works. Right. We are hearing like a strange version of this. Like it is unusual for them to pour, I guess, $90 million, which already seems insane to me, into a movie and then cancel it. But like that should tell you that they really did not think it would do, not even like okay. They thought it would do so badly it would be bad for other projects they have in the pipeline. Like this is actually a strange move of integrity, and everyone who tells you that it's because of diversity, they're being mean, they're being bad. Like,
it's false.
They're not looking at the big picture.
But they deserve this because they've pandered to this narrative that you need to do things this way rather than just making movies a good way. The show Gordita Chronicles, which they're talking about here, their issue here is that it's a family friendly show that also happens to be Latino led, and if there is one group that's underrepresented in Hollywood, it's absolutely the Latino population. Like from the numbers that I've seen, there's a YouTuber that I watch who makes the joke, like whenever they talk about diverse, they just mean like adding more black characters. But there's also, you could add Asian characters, you could add Hispanic characters. Like there's a lot of groups that you can add that are more than just that. But that's not what it means in Hollywood right now. No. But the point here is that they didn't cancel it because it's a Latino-led show. They canceled it because it's a family-oriented live action, which they said blanket they're getting rid of. They don't want to do that genre, that stuff anymore. So HBO Max is among the most expensive streaming platforms at $14.99 a month, and it remains to be seen how much appetite there is among consumers for a price hike to add Discovery Plus offerings. Those are like, I actually think that is genius on their part, and this isn't really the point I was going to make today. It's like, if you imagine it as like a husband and wife together, the husband will watch, once they merge these two together, the husband will watch HBO Max so he can watch the HBO Max stuff. The wife will then end up watching HBO Max so she can watch the Discovery Plus stuff, because that's the that's the like genre. It's like less genre stuff, and it's more like easy watching, like they're building homes and HGTV and stuff like that. So they're actually expanding their marketplace by doing so. And it's not just one group of creators that are getting canceled in a corporate overhaul like this. It's everyone. Yeah. But everyone now, because they pander to this call, to this type of push in society, that they're going to be held as if they're doing something wrong.
Yeah, they must see something really bad with it. They're probably thinking of like Birds of Prey, how that did.
Yeah, and that movie, there's a sequel.
2 Ghostbusters ago.
There's a Birds of Prey spin-off coming with the character, with the actress who played Black Canary in that, Jerry Smith. Nobody asked for that, but they're still going forward with it because obviously they found he somehow believes that there's a financial push forward for it.
What studio is that?
That's Warner Brothers.
That's Warner Brothers as well.
So also I want to know is like, is it who does he have more of a responsibility to? Is it his fiscal duty as CEO to pare down the costs, i.e. the shareholder, or does he have some type of responsibility to the call for diversity, equity, inclusion from activists? Who's more important?
Depends who you ask.
Who is more important?
Say it's the first one.
Who is more important to David Zaslav? The people, his shareholders, or activists, or the Hollywood Reporter?
Well, it depends how much of a spine he has.
Right, and like activism doesn't always pay. Like most activism is effective because they have some huge multi-millionaire backer who's funding them. In this case, there is not enough investment to turn the tide, and the public is not so interested in whether it be the diversity angle or the genre angle, a family oriented action movie or whatever
home
it is.
Genre-doms, they call it.
Like either way, this is a losing gamble, and the studio saw it, and I actually think it's good that they pulled it. And I don't think it's strictly not a comment on like changing the narrative or race swapping or any of the other criticisms that like Batgirl has gotten. Like, this venture probably would have hurt them as a whole. And if we're looking at it in the sense of we want to give as many creators the chance to have their art seen.
Yeah.
Having a horrible venture go out that costs a ton of money, that loses money, hurts everyone involved. Like, you have to cancel some things, and it's unusual for them to make it this far down the pipeline.
Yeah.
And it did. That's all there is to it.
He inherited a company. He took over as CEO as a company that's $55 billion in debt, and has to find a way to start making that up very, very quickly. But now I read this article. It says, Batgirl's cancellation means 3 important firsts will not see the light of day. Batgirl and Afro-Latina representation. Batgirl featured a key LGBTQ plus comic book character. 2 rising directorial talents lose out too, and the future of DC representation. Look, none of those guarantee that you're going to make any money at all. They mean nothing unless the project is good, right? The only one I would agree with is that the guys who directed it were the same guys who did Bad Boys for Life, which was actually a pretty good movie. So they do lose out on this. But in general, every time that they make these arguments, this is what happens when you have artistic, like basically art-drawn consumerism, right? Like when it's capitalist art, you have to understand that the money comes first.
Yeah, that's just propaganda.
Yes.
Yeah.
So... yeah, I had more I wanted to say, but I don't really...
Can we go back to that Hollywood Reporter real quick?
Let's
Because
go.
my favorite part was towards the end, the paragraph that starts with HBO Max's offerings have been as well known for their cultural diversity as for the quality and ambition. Later on in that paragraph, this quote happens. Say you were a fast food restaurant and you have a really popular menu item. When you're bought by another company, would you get rid of the item? I just love that they're comparing these people to food.
Yeah.
Again, it's very Jill Biden-esque, comparing people to tacos. Like, it's insane to me that that's what they think of. Also, why is Joaquin Castro talking about? Did I miss that in the article? Like, why is he involved? Is it because of the antitrust thing?
Because they had like a bunch of politicians
to talk about this. Like, it's so disgusting to me.
Yep. So it says, in addition to the content itself, another indicator of whether Warner Bros. Discovery is running afoul of the merger guidelines is what newly merged entity ends up charging for a combined HBO Max Discovery Plus service when it launches in 2023. Under antitrust law, an acquisition's effects on price is the heaviest factor in weighing merger. It's this is also funny because they just put HBO Max on sale today. Like, there's like an offer going on right now to get it for like $30 cheaper. And then they have an article written about that, about like laughing. It's like really snarky. Like, oh, I thought HBO Max was doing so good. So pick your
You can do
nothing
choice. Right in this ecosystem.
You cannot.
You can do nothing. You'll always fail by these standards.
And maybe that's the overall conclusion to make here. It's not whether it's right to cancel it. It's not whether it's wrong to cancel. It's that no matter what, you're always wrong.
Right.
To them.
There's no moral center to any of this stuff.
So, all right, let's do super chats.
Okay. Mary says, glad you guys were able to get the stream back. We are also glad.
Thank you, Mary.
Mostly we're glad that Brett is not having a heart attack any longer. You guys are incredibly important to Brett, and he does not like to produce substandard content for you guys.
I don't like to let you guys down.
1000 Foot Deep End says, I hereby declare that by fixing the audio, Brett has officially earned the right to refuse to bleach his hair at 15 crisis parties. Ooh. The agreement is annulled. You don't have the authority on that, but we'll negotiate later. Bad App says, Hallmark movie and chill. Jonathan Harris says, Shane, I need to catch up, but how far do you think you would have gotten with the multiracial crew? I wonder how many people would have talked to you if you showed up with a black guy and asking for that sweet Confederate gold.
Oh, like
that's interesting.
Like in what way?
Like in terms of getting
like more people. Like, do you think more people would have talked to you?
Getting closer. I was just hated by everybody.
Okay.
Down there because just asking for the gold was a problem because it's like an economy in itself down there. So I don't think my biggest help was having a local person because he could at least vouch for me and be like, and that's Clint, if you've been following along. But even that sometimes would make him a target. Clearly, if you've watched it, he had his life threatened in front of his own house. So I don't think there's anything being an outsider is just I was an alien in the extraterrestrial sense to Georgia. So
how what do they mean like when he asks like would it have helped if somebody had looked like somebody that looked different than you had been with you? Like would it have opened up more doors?
It could have been worse depending on who I was talking to. Yeah, it could have been worse. I met people down there who were descendants of slaves.
So there's a lot of people that were actually still racist.
Oh, there's certainly people down everywhere. I see them in New York too. But like in this town, I met the people who were descendants of slaves who are now friends with the descendants of the slave owners who had those slaves.
Wow. That's
crazy stuff. They went to the funeral of the guy for crying out loud.
That's wild.
Wild stuff.
Guys, check out Tales of the Inverted World on timcast.com. It's awesome.
Pretty cool. Thank you.
Waffle Sensei says, Hannah Claire, you can't use holy water on ghosts because they're not demons. You need a vacuum cleaner for ghosts. Shane, can you confirm?
We got to talk to Seamus Coughlin about that because he would disagree. Mary would probably disagree.
I do get that, like, if ghosts are like vapor, right? Water may not totally do the job. Demons have like a surface, I assume, that the water can land on.
I think it depends on the ghost type too.
You need
So
like
what
a
would
holy water
different types of
diffuser for ghosts.
So what would work?
It depends on the ghost.
Do you remember the video or the picture like early on during the pandemic of the guy shooting like when they were baptizing the child with a super soaker?
Yeah.
It was like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, that was great. I want to do that.
Ensting? I don't know how to say this.
Enstein K?
Enstein K. I tried to pronounce the name
I like
Dragon Stalin, and Brett had to point out to me that it's Dragon's Talon.
I would do the same.
Mary Morgan, please come back. I am not cut out for this job.
She's gonna come back and be like, I am so glad I was not here for that episode yesterday.
Demi Lovato just rehabbed her reputation, calling out Wilmer Valderrama for being a perv. It's kind of epic. We did talk about this.
We talked about
of
this.
late.
I
I don't remember what episode number, but
If you guys go to timcast.com, you can read Mary Morgan's article covering this.
And Demi Lovato is big into UFOs, aliens,
and she just
conspiracy
started
theories.
using female pronouns
That's right.
again.
She also
Who is she?
apologized.
She might be releasing an album that's
What?
coincidentally coming out while all of these things are. It's
Interesting.
crazy.
Yeah.
She actually apologized for to ghosts for suffering past sexism.
That's what it was.
That's
what
true.
it was.
That's true.
I'm trying to get her on the Inverted World podcast version. I've
I
been reaching
would
out.
die. That would be amazing.
That would be
That'd
incredible.
be amazing, right? We'll get her on here too.
I would like to get Joey B. Tunes on here.
Yeah.
There's so much to do.
Yes.
Quiet and Ari says, a man never backs down on his agreement. WWCD.
What would Chet do?
What would Chet do?
I love how quick he knew that.
I mean, I'm assuming that's
you
them.
have
That's
had too much
exactly
Chet
what I
Kool-Aid.
meant
They're
that.
crazy.
I will dye my hair at 15 if we get that
15
one.
Clip that.
consecutive
I'm not-
Dane,
crisis
clip
parties.
that.
Someone
But-
clip it.
I get to choose when.
I don't think so.
I don't like that part. No, that's not how it works.
Just wait for the show to go out of business.
The-
Wait it out.
Yeah. Okay.
Caper2X says, is the sound guys? No, we are not fixing Brett. Brett cannot be fixed. He's perfect the way he is.
that is right.
Aw.
And Andy Leiterman
Our
gave-
missing in action CTO.
says I fixed it. You're welcome. So thank you,
Thank you.
Andy.
Good looking
We'll
out.
see you when you come to work.
I rapped Wu-Tang while we were having problems.
Yeah.
Andy also loves that song, Triumph. Shout out to Andy.
I
Shout out
wish-
to Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
Ghostface.
Maybe we
was,
should have a rap session while you're here.
Yeah, let's do that.
No, we got it going. Hope you guys
Yeah.
are happy. And Brett, I swear everything's okay.
We're good. We're
Yeah.
good. All right, we're gonna move on, and we're gonna talk about the
Someone
this.
just sent in. Sorry, it's not a super chat, but
Yep.
I drank holy water by accident once, and I know not a lot of people who did that because their church would have like a little dispenser by the door, and
Right.
it looks like a water dispenser. And people would be like drinking the holy water.
That's like a
Did
horror.
anything happen to them? Like, did
Not
something
as far as
happen?
I know, at least not right in the church.
Interesting.
All right, Jonah Hill will not promote his new movies because of mental health. Press tours exacerbate anxiety attacks. The funniest part about this is the movie that he's going to be promoting is a movie about mental health called Sputs.
It's almost like it's planned. It's
It's-
almost like the best way to promote a mental health movie is to talk about your own mental health.
But I'm saying, like, is anything real anymore?
Okay, I know I'm the guy who always comes on here and says that too, that there's no reality. But I before we read it, I did feel differently about it the more I thought about it because, and this could all be fake and it's like a way to promote his movie. But he's also someone who seems to want to improve himself. You know, he lost a ton of weight.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
And he's talked pretty publicly about struggling with people
Right.
commenting on his relationships and his weight and things
I
like
remember when he
I
threw
get
James Franco into the bus.
Did he?
Oh yeah. Like as soon as that
Everybody
stuff came out about
did.
James Franco, he's like, I'm not. Which that annoys me because it's like you clearly had no problem with his behavior. You cared that he got caught.
Yeah, of course.
So,
Of course.
Jonah Hill has released an open letter in which he announced that he will no longer promote his own movies for the foreseeable future in order to continue working on his mental health. His upcoming projects include a documentary he directed titled Sputs and a Netflix comedy, You People, which Hill co-wrote with director Kenya Barris. Hill stars in the Netflix film opposite Eddie Murphy. That's awesome.
Whoa.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Molly Gordon, Mike Epps, Nia Long, and David Duchovny. Wow, that is an eclectic cast right there.
That's a
Nia
really good
Long's
cast.
awesome, and so is David Duchovny. Throughout this journey of self-discovery within film, I have come to the understanding that I have spent 20 years experiencing anxiety attacks, which are exacerbated by media appearances and public-facing events, Hill wrote. So Sputs comes out this in film festivals this upcoming year. He says the movie features Hill and his therapist openly discussing his mental health issues. The reason I brought this up is because I see 900 articles a day that discuss like celebrities talking about mental health, and there's a certain fascination with it in not just Hollywood but within society right now, because we went from being completely closeted about the concept of talking about your mental health to a point where we've almost fetishized the concept of talking about your mental health.
That's exactly it. And that's how I felt at first when I read it. And I also, actually, I'll be honest, my first gut reaction was this is just their attempt to get us all into the metaverse where celebrities will promote films from now on, and I reject that. But I also, as someone, I do.
Why does he talk about the metaverse?
No, I just feel like that's
always where it's going.
That's the inevitable conclusion of this, is where Hollywood moves all these promotional things into the metaverse, and then they expect all of us to join them there, which I will never ever do.
Do the people who invest in his films have a right to question this?
No, because like what Hannah Claire said,
if he
also,
funds it
this
himself,
could be good for it. This could also just be promoting it.
But then he's just promoting it in a different way.
Well,
right.
But that is still intellectually dishonest with what he's saying. If he went in and he made this statement knowing that, yeah, maybe he has a little bit of a problem with public-facing events, but now he's like, I get to get out of public-facing events and promote my movie? Sign me up.
I think that there's, like, I want to believe that he really is someone who is trying to be open about mental health, or, like, take that sort of pursuit in recovery seriously. But because he did make a formal statement, it's hard not to be like, in lieu of any other promotions, I'm going to do this. So when you hear about my movies and you Google it, it's like, oh, this guy is serious about mental health. But it did in some ways remind me of, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but Mark Cuban has this drug company where he is selling things for cheap. Yeah, but he specifically said he's not going to put any money in marketing. It's all word of mouth. So it's called like Cost Plus Drugs. And I, in some ways, think there is, it's really interesting. And that was one of the tenets, like, it's all word of mouth marketing. He's not like paying for commercials or billboards or whatever. And in some ways, I see this as an allusion to that. Like, I don't need to sell myself to sell the movie. You know what I'm saying? Who's the guy who did, gosh, I can't remember his name. It'll come to me in a minute, but he's a really famous actor. He does a lot of
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes, thank you. And he like retreats to Scotland or whatever. He doesn't come out. He is not on the circuit when he's promoting his movies.
That's how I feel too, because I'm also of the mind of I love artists who are kind of reclusive. Brian Wilson when he wrote Pet Sounds, Daniel Day-Lewis. Although if Chris Carr is listening, he'd be so mad.
Why?
I think he hates Daniel Day-Lewis.
What a specific.
He doesn't like
this man and the things that he hates.
I know.
Chris Carr hates method
He also
acting.
hates the British, which he had to tell me very like regretfully at one point.
Maybe I'm slandering him. Maybe it's not Daniel Day-Lewis. I feel like it is, but I'm sorry if it is. If it's not Chris Carr, but
he also hates Michael Mann movies, and he hates the movie Heat, which means his judgment is clearly suspect.
We're making him sound like so crotchety and mean. Like he's
also
a really
like the
nice
best
guy.
editor I've ever had in my life.
Yes.
But
100%. He's the backbone of like everything I do.
True. Thomas Pynchon isn't one of my favorite authors. Also recluse. So I understand the need for wanting to be a recluse when you're also balancing the public life, and I understand that the public life comes with all its own stresses. But I also think like you have to some degree understand that. And I'm just balancing all this. I understand it. I also am like searching through the story for authenticity. I want to believe that he's being authentic, but it is hard to understand if he's being authentic by just reading a press release.
Also, we have this here, which says Jonah Hill deletes his Instagram amid accounts of anxiety.
He also
attacks.
shaved his head.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
this is after he bleached it, or is he alluding to Brett?
So the thing here is that I see more and more of this. We had Shawn Mendes canceled an entire tour recently because he felt that his mental health was crappy and he needed to work on it. And then somebody posted like pictures of him like at the beach, and even I made the comment where I'm like, like I was like, why is he at the beach if he has bad mental health? But sometimes you take a beach day because you have bad mental health.
Yeah,
exactly.
Goodness.
So, but we also have this, which is that the young actor who played in Superman and Lois is actually leaving. He plays Jonathan Kent in Superman and Lois. He's leaving the show after 2 seasons because of problems with his own mental health, which proves that they're not like afraid to do this anymore. Like they're not maybe the opportunities feel more plentiful to them, but I feel like 20 years ago they would be way too afraid to like lose their place in the industry by just because back in the day it would have made you seem unreliable. Now because it's so socially acceptable.
But like you said it perfectly. They fetishized it. And that's the problem with wanting to know if it's authentic or not.
There's a weird obsession with the concept of like people who talk about like their conversations between them and their therapist. Like they've fetishized going to therapy.
Yeah.
Hollywood has.
Yeah, I think in some ways making a big deal about anything in Hollywood makes it so that topic's untouchable about you. Like it's the outlet. I don't see minor actors, you know, people who are working maybe on shows but not to the level of success that Jonah Hill has, being able to be like, I want to take a mental break. Like they are still expected to turn out work because acting so much depends on so much of an acting career depends on momentum.
Yeah.
Like it's why you see people doing massive amount of work as soon as they start to get as many offers as they can, because it will not last forever.
Yep.
And some people are, I mean, Jonah Hill is doing it to a certain extent. He's transitioning to other roles, directing, producing, but not everyone has that opportunity. And in some ways, to me, this is a testament that his career is so secure that he can say, like, I am setting this boundary.
He points that out here. He says, I usually cringe at letters or statements like this, but I understand that I am of the privileged few who can afford to take time off. I won't lose my job while working on my anxiety. With this letter and with the film, he says, I'm hoping to make it more normal for people to talk and act on this stuff so that they can take steps towards feeling better, so that people can live their lives, might understand their issues more clearly.
I just think that we should talk about mental health, and like if you need a break from what you're doing, you need to change your routine, like that's fine. But acting is a unique field where you can say, like, I'm going to put a huge 6-month gap in my schedule. I'm not going to take a movie. I'm not going to take a TV show. And realistically, like mental health or like emotional wellness or whatever it is, like those things are continuous. You can't just check out of your job. When he says, I'm of the privileged few who can take a chance to, or can afford to step away, like instead of talking about like my career as an actor, I feel like he's trying to relate to everyday working class people who can't do that. And in some ways I still think he's missing the point.
Do you think we've destigmatized this discussion so much to the fact, like I said, I believe that it's been destigmatized so much that it's actually been fetishized and made like where people feel like that if they're not talking about issues with their mental health, that they're somehow not a complete person almost.
Yeah. I would probably take it more seriously if he just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And I just didn't see him from a while. Like, you know, kind of how like Norm Macdonald disappeared when he was sick. That's a totally different thing. But like, just don't say anything then.
Also, I wonder if like I don't know if he has kids or anything like this, but I feel like back in the day,
I think he's married now, right?
I have no idea.
Back in the day, that like to take a break, they would have been like, I'm taking time off to spend with my family and to focus on my family. Now I'm taking time off to focus on myself. Which I kind of attribute to like a shift in values to a more narcissistic culture that we live in right now.
Brian Wilson did it in the 60s with Pet Sounds, and he said it was because he was like a paranoid man. He hated touring. All that stuff was freaking him out. So he just locked himself in a studio and kind of just made, I think, one of the most perfect albums of all time. I also think that Jonah Hill's really good. Like, did you see his movie mid-90s that he directed? Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. Like, it's a great movie. That was years ago.
I think I've only seen him in Moneyball, which he is great.
He was great in that too.
I love that movie.
I think he's really, really good.
There's a movie Hannah Claire likes. Oh, you probably read the book first.
The thing is, I haven't seen that many movies, so I don't like a lot of them, and when I do, there are very few.
I also wonder if this is like a symptom of the lockdowns, because I see a lot of this coming out of Hollywood and musicians saying like post-lockdown, like Mike Patton, a musician I like a lot. I know him from Phantom Oz and Mr. Bungle. People might know him from Faith No More. He released a statement like a few weeks ago saying, I'm just coming out of like a terrible place, like mentally, because of lockdowns and stuff. And I think maybe all that stuff could have accelerated this mental stuff in these people. And then they feel more willing to say it out loud. Is it the studio's responsibility to help these actors? One of the things I have a problem with is like a lot of these actors never know when to shut up, and the studios should be telling them when they should, like, maybe you should ease up on, like, when you're promoting this, maybe you should like soften your language or not be so divisive in the way you talk. Like we don't cover a lot of those things on here because they tend to be related to specific properties that I'm just not interested in talking about. Yeah. Like I'm watching the Lord of the Rings promotion go on right now, and it's a hilarious, absolute disaster zone of people talking about stuff that has nothing to do with the show, and the fans are combative and the actors are combative back at the fans. Does the studio, in a case similar to that, where I think the studio should be like informing these people, like maybe you shouldn't talk about this stuff so blatantly with when you're promoting stuff, do the studios have a responsibility to help these actors or studio professionals with their mental health?
I think you're missing the point that studios are ultimately driven by making money, and so
if
actors are willing to talk about their mental health and that is of interest, like why would they tell them not to? If that draws intrigue to the movie, right? If you in some way are getting on what we'll call like a buzzword topic, or if you're kind of picking up on that trend, I think generally we would like all industries, Hollywood not, to take people's wellness holistically pretty seriously. But I think that studios and the culture in Hollywood is such that actors are encouraged to be overexposed and to capitalize on, I mean, think of like every celebrity couple who's like, we had a baby and People has the exclusive rights to the photos and how much they get paid for that. Like, they are in an industry where selling their privacy and selling their life story is so integral to everything else they do. I can't imagine a studio executive would, you know, I would love it, but I don't think that they would have the moral standard to be like, no, we're going to cut off this revenue stream.
Yeah.
So maybe it means more if you don't talk about it.
Yeah, I just cringe at thinking in the studio of telling anyone to say anything or not. I understand they could give advice, but I would just be like, don't tell me what to say. But maybe they have contracts, so I don't know how that works. But it would be nice to think of like how Hannah Claire said it, like if they could, you know, behind the scenes be like, hey, maybe we can help out like this and that. But
I just find it to be a very heavily used, like the concept of mental health being a buzzword in articles that I'm reading all day, every day now. So I thought it would be interesting to cover it from the angle of like from somebody who can afford to not promote his own movies. But I do wonder if yes, sure, this is good promotion if that was indeed the purpose of it.
Yeah, he did say, I think in there that like making that movie where he's talking about the mental stuff kind of opened all this up for him.
Yeah.
So maybe it was like a gateway into him having this revelation.
Well, and I think if he is like if he is an example of someone who's like, hey, I'm not going to do something because I don't feel comfortable with it and it ultimately doesn't impact me positively. Like, I don't actually think that's bad. I think so often we're told we have to tolerate things or do things because like it's for the greater good. And ultimately, like, I'm not saying you should be selfish, but also there are times to be realistic with what your capacity for things are.
I have like debilitating anxiety through my whole life. Like, I was born with anxiety. I was an anxious baby, right? So I understand this, and it's probably why I'm empathizing for this here.
I feel not like just doing the show here. I get high anxiety. Being in front of a camera, talking, sharing my views, and leaving those views open to criticism gives me extreme anxiety.
It should. And I understand taking a step back, and that's healthy. But I also think, and this is just my opinion, that you can turn these flaws, if you want to call it a flaw, your anxiety, it's a flaw in me, like into a superpower. And you can make this something that you can work against. You'll never cure it. I don't think it ever goes away. No. But you're going to have to find a way to balance it. I don't have nearly a public life as he does, so I can't speak to that.
How do you make it a superpower then?
How do I make it a superpower? Like, so one of my favorite.
I think of the concept of gratitude as a superpower. Gratitude,
yes.
Even when you're struggling, is to me something I consider a superpower.
Man. That is a really important one. In terms of nerves, I always think of my favorite line from the Killers song. How do you know you're right if you're not nervous anymore? So by that, I just take like the idea that if I'm getting nerves, I'm feeling nervous about something, it's making me kind of hyper aware of my surroundings and myself, my thoughts, and then I kind of overthink it, which could also be a problem, superpower or debilitating problem. But I use the anxiety to kind of analyze if I'm doing my best. And if I'm nervous, that means I'm getting to somewhere that might be new to me, and then I'm happy.
So you believe? I spend most of my life trying to get away from like.
You got to work with it because it'll never go away.
Yeah.
For me, at least. For me,
I think there are some people who experience anxiety or like depression in a moment of time, and they go through it. But there are people who are also like anxious or depressive. Like, that is part of the personality, and you have to learn to incorporate those things into your lifestyle every day. Because otherwise, like, and I go back to my thesis here, like. It's unrealistic to think taking 6 months off of a job will permanently fix any of these issues. Yeah. I mean, they are things that you live with in part, like the same way you live with your personality, right? And you have to be accountable to that.
I personally think taking a step back for 6 months will make it even harder to emerge back into life, like the lockdowns were for many people. I know people who were locked down with their kids, didn't leave their apartment for 6 months.
Yeah. If anything, you need to learn to better adapt to the same situation you're already in rather than changing your situation entirely.
Right.
Does that really solve anything when you take your life and turn it into an unrealistic expectation of what it's going to look like once that 6 months are over? Because it's not going to look the same.
Nope, it's going to be different. But I'm sure he's finding out who his like real friends are too.
Yeah.
I bet James Franco is reaching out to him behind the scenes.
Maybe.
Because I still like James Franco.
Yeah.
I think he's a great, crazy artist. I don't know about him as a person, but I loved his art.
You're going to enjoy watching him as Fidel Castro?
I can't wait. He looks more like him
than
the guy who played Luigi.
Yep.
From
Mario. Then John
Mario
Leguizamo.
Brothers, yeah.
There was a super chat there, and let's get
Jose Cuervo said, people sometimes invoke quote, my mental health when literally just experiencing some form of accountability and necessary discomfort.
Also, it's like it's kind of like COVID became the go-to. Like if a project wasn't going to work out, it's like go-to excuse you could use for anything was COVID.
Yeah.
And now you can do that with mental health too. Like
mental health probably came first. They're probably using that as an excuse first, and then
like
COVID was like the new get out of jail pass.
Yeah, I think mental health and like self-care or self-love went hand in hand, and COVID blew that out of the water.
Hot take, I hate that term.
Which
I hate self-care.
Self-care?
It's like the idea that like I don't know.
No, I don't like the.
I feel
like
like
the
a crotch.
idea of self-care. I don't like
yes,
the phrase.
Call me a crotchety old person, but it's just like it's always just like it's just behave. It's a reason for them to behave narcissistically.
Is that someone calling you?
Yeah.
Yes. It always feels like a reason for somebody to behave narcissistic. Like I watched one the other day. It was like a TikTok where this lady's like, my husband looking at the Target bill after my third day of spending $275 on this, and this, and like hashtag self-care. I'm like, you're just being impulsive. You're just being a bad person, your husband.
I think part of this is like people think. I am very anti-indulgence culture, and I know you use that term
maybe
a
that's
lot.
no, maybe that's what I mean. It's like people are overly indulgent.
And you know, I think it's done some positive things for pop culture, but the show Parks and Rec came up with Treat Yourself Day, which is like interesting, right? You like. It means that you spend money on things that you want that day. And I think there is totally a place for that in life. But what it became code for was like, I am going to shut my eyes to consequences and think that buying things materially will make me feel better. Like a lot of this
retail therapy.
Right. A lot of this actually takes very serious self-reflection and self-discipline. And that's not what people want to do because they want impulsive, like short-term fixes. Exactly.
Then again, I bought like American flag pajama pants at like 2 a.m. the other day. So what do I know?
Temporary fixes.
He's wearing them right now, everybody.
He's going to put them on after this. He's going to lie down and be like, I've had a very long, hard day.
I wore them around the house last night, and I was just like, I didn't need to buy these, but I did.
But I feel better now.
Exactly. Like $17 to
You know
freedom.
what that was, Brett? That was self-care.
That was
really was good self-care.
You self-cared.
I did. So, all right, guys. Oh, we got one more there.
Let's see.
People
are so talkative today. It's very exciting. Okay. Wayward Soul says, my anxiety monsters have been mostly slayed thanks to, I can't say this word, but it is a common supplement for...
Why can't you say it?
I just don't know how to pronounce it. I never have.
Was it ashwagandha?
Okay.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
L-theanine and GABA supplements. Give them a chance and change the game. I think that's totally true. I will say, and I only, like, my first line for anything is to supplement or to examine my diet or my digestion is you sometimes have to take those things for like 60 days and people, if they don't feel better or if they plateau, will stop. All of these things are a long-term investment.
I actually used to go to a shaman.
Of course you did.
In Scranton, Pennsylvania.
r/not like other ghost dads.
Are there a lot of shamans in Scranton, Pennsylvania?
No, just this guy. He's
Shaman
long
capital
gone now.
of the world.
I thought Scranton was Ohio.
No,
it's Dunder Mifflin. It's in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, actually,
Get it
you're
together.
right. Thank you. There's actually, I wrote a whole story about it. You can find it online if you type my name and shaman. I'm sure it'll come up. But he was very helpful.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, he was an amazing man. Rest in peace.
Did you see him regularly?
Fairly. It was a 3-hour drive for me. From New York to where he was, but he helped me. He cured a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean,
not my anxiety. He taught me how to work with that though. But he cured my
that's
allergies
the thing. You have to
overnight.
work with things. That's crazy. Tucker Max, when we were on our LD, when I talked about doing like hallucinogenic therapy, I'm like, I think that one of the cool things about, I totally get the comment that was like, we all just talk about my mental health when it's like, I'm experiencing emotions that are uncomfortable, and like totally get that, totally agree. But I do think that some of the larger conversations about wellness and mental health have opened the door for like research into alternative ways to treat things, or like I was amazed to learn that I had certain like vitamin deficiencies, and that causes some of the issues that I was like experiencing.
Maybe I'm also just fairly closed off with how I express myself. So it's like I'm trying to like.
Brett told me that one time his brother called him and said, "I love you," and Brett was like, "Don't say that again."
I thought that.
I thought that.
My
You
dad,
didn't say it. You just
in
let
our
it
family,
hang there.
in our family, it is known but doesn't need to be said.
Brett enforces the rule that is unspoken.
I
one of my sisters does not hug.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not really a hugger.
And me and my mom said I love you when we got off the phone, but like it was just between the dudes of the family. It just never needed.
My dad only says I love you before I go onto a plane, or a long road trip, as if it's like
just in case.
something could happen here. So just in case.
See, my family's the opposite. Like, we say I love you like there is no tomorrow.
That's funny.
Like, my dad is like, but like, I've talked about this before with Shane, but like, we lost my mom when I was very young, and I think my dad was like, have to tell you are valuable and important to me, and it's something I've always appreciated about my childhood.
That was how it started. Like it started being said more after my mom passed. But I was like, look, I know things have changed, but it doesn't need to change that.
We don't have to link
it. It doesn't need to change that.
Not openly.
I love you, for sure. But
I love you.
You know, like exactly. It's already known.
Okay. Bobcat says self-care sounds like what you'd say when you're taking so long in the bathroom when you're watching. You know what? On your phone. I say prawn?
Prawn on your phone.
Prawn.
Like I said, self-care to me is just like I never see it described in a way that actually seems honest. It always looks narcissistic.
Well,
there's no limits to the word.
And it becomes like what it's popularized as is just impulsivity, which is actually not the purpose. Right. Okay. Jose Cuervo says self-car equals self-decay, but you can't judge me.
I think
that's
exactly that's Cuervo for the win, right? Like that's exactly the perfect definition of it. It's like I want to act in a way that would normally be looked down upon, but you're not allowed to say anything about it because self-care.
I don't want to read bad apps.
That's fine.
But it's exactly what you guys think bad app would say.
Yeah, this happens quite often.
When we finally get a merch store, the very first item will just say, "I'm not reading that." That's what it's going to be. False God.
I'm doing it. False Gods. Darks says.
False God. Dark Soul.
Pass. Says self-care the like button.
If you guys could please self-care the like button, that would be fantastic.
I don't like this phrase. It's getting worse and worse.
All right. We are going to move on, and we're going to talk about the sad loss of the movie that never was, and I do mean sad loss because I would have loved to see this movie. So it's called All-Star, and it was Jamie Foxx's directorial debut, and he says it'll be tough to release his shelved comedy that stars Robert Downey Jr. as a Mexican man. So obviously, the thumbnail I made for this for tomorrow is obviously it's Tropic Thunder, right? It's Tropic Thunder. And it says, Jamie Foxx recently told Cinema Blend that his unreleased directorial effort, All-Star Weekend, remains shelved due to the current state of comedy. The Oscar winner shot the movie in 2016 with a cast that includes Jeremy Piven, Robert Downey Jr., Benicio del Toro, Gerard Butler, and Ava Longoria. That's like an awesome cast of people. So basically the idea here is like him, like Jamie Foxx's character and Jeremy Piven's character are on the road to go to the All-Star game because they're both basketball fans, and Jamie Foxx plays like a racist white cop in it as well.
Jamie Foxx plays
so this is why it's funny because all the people that when they're saying that this movie would not be allowed to release because it has Robert Downey Jr. as a Mexican man, and it's also got Jamie Foxx as a racist white cop. They never talk about how the racist white cop being played by the black guy is the reason the movie won't get released. They're just talking about Robert Downey Jr. as the Mexican man. I want to see this movie.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a little pathetic that he won't release it.
I don't know if he has a say in it. I think
is it up to him?
I don't know if it's necessarily up to him.
They make it sound like it's his call thing.
But like it may be partially his, but I don't know if if you don't own all of the project, does he really have that much power?
If it's not up to him, then whatever. The studio's pathetic.
He says,
I think you should release it.
So he says it's been a tough with the lay of the land when it comes to comedy. Fox told Cinema Blend when asked what fans might be able to expect to see All-Star Weekend. I remember when not Matt Reeves, who did Joker, Todd Phillips. When he made Joker, he said basically it's because you can't do comedy anymore because comedy's not nothing's allowed anymore because people don't have a sense of humor. There is no humor allowed left in Hollywood because no matter what you do, you're always punching down on someone, and it will be deemed as offensive.
I agree with that, but I don't. It's like because Chappelle's still doing what he does. People are really mad at Chappelle all the time, but I also think Chappelle does a great job of it, but I understand where Todd Phillips is coming from as well in terms of movies and comedy.
But also Chappelle, it's become who he is now. Like he's no longer just a comedian. He's a commentator on the social climate of our country.
Yeah, he's elevated to. I call him.
But I don't think he would choose that.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't think he wants to
career
be.
Path. Like he does it because he loves comedy, and part of comedy is commenting on the things around you.
So it says it's been a tough with the lay of the land when it comes to comedy. He's told Cinema Blend when asked when fans might be expected to able to see All-Star Weekend. He says we're trying to break open the sensitive corners where people go back when people go back to laughing again. We hope to keep them laughing and run them right into All-Star Weekend because we're definitely going for it. Here's the thing. these people have championed these movements that have been extremely contentious with the idea of comedy for a long time now. They're always very, like, Hollywood in general is a very sensitive, at least outwardly sensitive place where everything is offensive all the time. So I don't think you get to have it both ways. You don't get to both comment on the nature of social justice and the problems that face our country and also get to satirize it when it financially benefits you.
Did he just, is this a brand new interview?
The interview's new, but the movie's from 2016.
So it's like Jamie Foxx was also right there as someone ran on stage to stab Chappelle recently. I think Jamie Foxx had a cowboy hat on.
He was like one of the people who like intervened.
Yeah, so it's like I'm curious if he's like internalizing this and being. Although I have always seen him as a champion for everything. That's why to me it's sad to see him bowing to the studio's wishes.
Maybe in some ways it's like everyone else he doesn't want to, but there are a lot of other people involved, and to make everyone get caught up in the fury,
Maybe Jeremy Piven's. Didn't
you
they
think
cancel
they'd know
him?
Based on what they like signed up to do? But again, I feel like things have changed dramatically since 2016. I definitely feel like it's changed crazy since like 2005.
Different world.
Totally different world. But one presidency later has been quite the.
That's all it took.
The change.
That's all it took. But I'd like to see. I mean, I just need to know the specifics on what studio has and all this stuff, because I'm liking the turn that we're getting where like comedians like Schultz, what he did, where he bought back his
Andrew
thing,
Schultz,
and then released it himself. I just watched Dane Cook on Impulsive, and he's might be doing something similar, right? Like
Dane Cook, who just married his 23-year-old.
That is weird.
They didn't get married.
They're dating 5 years. She was 18 at the time.
His longtime love.
My wife and I went down that rabbit hole last night.
His longtime love of like
strange.
hopefully no longer than 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely no longer than 5 years.
That is a bizarre story. That aside,
they met at a game night at his house.
His brother like robbed him for like
15 mil.
And here's the other thing: Dane Cook.
Why do you have an 18-year-old at a game night at your house?
She was 17 in one picture.
Oh my!
They did some digging online.
See, pick and choose who you get, who you get in trouble, right? He's just allowed to. Is he just not relevant enough to?
Also, like,
when his new thing comes out, he'll do it. Where were her parents? I thought they were there.
That's what I was thinking. Like, how did you just happen to know a 17-year-old to invite over?
Right,
I know that's not what we're talking about.
No.
But no one can invoke Dane Cook right now without this being worth discussing.
What you were going to say, though, I think they're going to try to get him with that thing, that age thing, whenever he releases this new special.
And I'm sure he'll be expecting it. So
why do you think they got engaged when they did?
Yeah. Fox defended casting Robert Downey Jr. as a Mexican man in a 2017 interview with Joe Rogan, saying, "I called Robert and I said, I need you to play a Mexican. I said, you played that black dude in Tropic Thunder and you killed that shit."
Interview is amazing, by the way.
We got to be able to do characters. So do you agree? Do you think they should be allowed to
do anything
absolutely
you freaking want?
Exactly.
I love that he's just openly being like, "No, I liked him in that one movie and I want to do it again."
Oh, that movie's hilarious. One of the greatest cameos ever, too, with Tom Cruise.
So there was a bunch of people reacted to this. So Jarek Kennedy says Robert Downey Jr. plays a Mexican American man, while one of Jamie Foxx's multiple roles is a racist white cop. Let that stay on the shelf, baby. These people have no sense of humor, none whatsoever.
Also, why let it stay on the shelf? Like, if you're afraid of it, isn't it worth exploring a little bit?
They're afraid of the pushback. I have some very dear friends who make music for a living, and I remember during the summer of the riots, they were supposed to release music, but then all their labels said no. It's not the time. And I, as a fan, as a friend, I was very disappointed.
Yeah.
We need the art now more than ever. I don't care what people are going to think. And I think the labels were expecting the pushback. How dare you release anything at a time like this?
Well, but that makes it seem worse because it just became more divisive. It made everyone hyper-focus on it. Like, they fed into division in this country by limiting art and expression.
Yep, that was the goal.
So, let me see here.
But these people are humorless. They're humorless born-agains.
Do you want my super chat? But I don't really want to read it.
No, we're I'm pulling this back up here, guys. All right. I was thinking back to I was watching an old episode of Warehouse 13, and this was a trope that Aladdin did, where he gets it's a sci-fi show, and he gets like stuck in a magic TV that puts him into a telenovela. And it's Eddie McClintock's character. McClintock, and in the show he dates this girl, a Latina woman, and he gets like he meets her again later on in life and comes back, and he gets stuck in a magic TV at her house because the lady's grandma loves telenovelas, and so the whole thing is him doing like an over the top. He's got like a sombrero on, and it's totally like it's even got like the evil twin in it and everything, all the tropes, and it's freaking fantastic. And you could never make that today.
Also, you would never have turned on a telenovela.
No,
like, this is what introduced you to another genre. Like,
yes,
I know it's sort of satirical, but like it's still good. It's still an interesting way to promote different forms of media.
How dare you, though?
But it's like, I think back to it, it's like I don't believe for a second that anybody acting on that show that day was offended while making that, especially if they want to tell us about how open they are to art and how much they believe that art is about expression and truth.
No, but they only want certain kinds of art, with certain truths, and certain messages.
Most of today's offense is all retroactively applied.
Yes.
Like they look back and they probably have great memories of filming that, but then now because it's been fetishized, the word of the day, then they can find offense in it.
Yep. So it says apparently right. Yeah. Do you think that this is one of those things where 10 years will pass and we'll be able to get back to it, or are we past? Are we post fun?
We're post reality. We're post everything.
Well, what's your stance on fun?
Yeah,
I understand that you believe that we're past reality. What is your stance on fun?
Fun. I love fun. I love fun. That's why I want all this now. I think it's ridiculous to wait. I think it's pathetic to bow to whatever standards you think the public wants. If they made something with a great cast, that sounds like fun. I'd like to watch it now.
And like you said with Andrew Schultz, the fans will always reward you if you just stick true to your beliefs and you actually follow through.
Right.
Do you think the fear is just that it'll make money and do well? And that is like a comment
That'd be
on
hilarious.
The systemic racism of our society or something like that?
That would be hilarious.
Also, aren't they oppressing a black creator by
not
letting him?
Right.
Like I lose track of what the narrative and justification
There
is
none. That's what I'm saying. Like
exactly.
I want like a chart. Like that like where all the bars move and you can figure out like who is being
victimized,
wrong done upon wrong done by in this situation, and it changes because there actually aren't any rules to it.
That's
so
right.
I want to. I love the I want to see the buddy cop movie where racist white Jamie Foxx and Hispanic and Latino and Mexican not Latino and Mexican Robert Downey Jr. go on an adventure together.
Right, and it's a simple. I love these type of movies that are just very simple. Just a journey, like road trip.
And it likely wouldn't. I mean, likely it would have been a cameo. Like that's how he describes it in the thing, because it was Jeremy Piven's character and Jamie Foxx's character that go on the road trip together. Great. And it says that it says that Jamie Foxx was going to play multiple characters in that movie. Perfect. So he'd have been like, imagine doing all that work too. So you play multiple characters.
Who does the Medea movies? He's making an ode to that guy.
Yeah, I was going to say Peter Sellers actually, but that's a good one too. Do we know who Peter Sellers is?
Yes.
Dr. Strangelove, one of my favorite movies of all time. Kubrick's first one.
What did you just say though? Before
the guy from Medea.
Oh yeah, Tyler Perry.
He plays like 100 people, right?
Well, and he took it from Eddie Murphy.
Tyler Perry's fantastic.
Look, this is a cultural tradition among African American performers. They are now oppressing by not letting him release it.
I don't watch anything from Tyler Perry.
I'm being a little tongue in cheek here, but like at the same time,
Tyler Perry was amazing in Gone Girl.
Yeah, I don't watch Tyler Perry, but I have mad respect for the sheer amount of stuff that he makes. Like he produces a crazy amount.
Maybe
of
he's
stuff.
the one who's like, don't let him out, because if Jamie Foxx is better at playing multiple people, my whole thing is over.
I would like to see Jamie Foxx do Medea.
See, I want him to come back and do Miami Vice 2 with Colin Farrell.
I love Jamie Foxx. Like the Jamie Foxx TV show. Did you guys watch
I never
that?
saw. I never watched it.
Oh my goodness, it was great.
What happens on the Jamie Foxx?
He was
TV
a
show?
jingle writer. He wrote jingles.
That's amazing.
It was a great.
That's such a great
show,
old school job.
Too.
That's such a great old school
great
job.
Yep.
I thought he was a musician.
Yep. He did Gold Digger with Kanye.
My grandfather he painted windows for window sale signs.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like for when you go to a store.
Do you have pictures of that?
Portfolio? What he used to do is every time Halloween or a holiday would come around, he had the front of their home had a big window there, and he would paint a scene on that.
And then people are like, you're so good. And he's like, I do it professionally.
That's incredible.
Basically,
I want a pop culture crisis window painting.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yes, that would be so cool.
Put a fake window in behind us?
Yes.
That'd be great.
This wall needs something.
Anyone out there paint windows?
Yeah.
Is that a job still?
I do know. I have a friend who did it up in on Fifth Ave in the city.
Yeah. In some places,
Bergdorf's
it's
and stuff like that.
Specialized traits. Like when I used to work in home rentals, like guys who are traditional plasterers. There's very few crews, but the ones that do it. Or the other one, you'll probably get it because you're from the Northeast, but
I won't get it, huh?
Yeah. I just don't know. I haven't spent that much time in Minnesota, but stone walls.
Oh, I love stone walls.
That is a very serious craftsman's
got stone walls
trait.
out there?
I don't even know what that means.
So you have no idea what I'm talking about. You tried to make me
Walls made of
realism.
stones.
It's like instead of a fence, you have a stone wall, and sometimes they're like, you know, to your knee, and sometimes they're higher. But they're like traditionally every stone is selected hand by hand, and
I
they're
used to make
placed so
'em.
they don't fall.
One of my earliest
Oh,
jobs.
I love
but
watching
this-
those TikToks.
Yeah,
of
I
But
haven't
those.
seen
but
those.
this is like a skill. I don't know if this is like, you know, when you're doing it, like especially where I grew up in Connecticut, like there was one guy who did it, and he got like people would fly him to Texas to
Yeah,
recreate them.
yeah.
I mean,
It's beautiful.
to do it and like not use cement and to really know how to balance the
Right,
stones is a
right.
huge art. And like he unfortunately passed away and
Yeah.
like did not have
No more
time to
stone walls.
train anyone. No,
Right.
because he learned it from his dad and it got passed down. That is a crazy dying industry. Why do we not
Right,
have that?
and that makes me think of how the pyramids were built by aliens.
Yes. Well,
I don't know what this has to do with Jamie Foxx, but I
Jamie
R.I.P.
Foxx.
Stone Walls.
I
If
just
you
say-
have a trade like that, I hope that you pursue
R.I.P.
it.
Stone Walls.
Is there actual good humor coming out now? Like in movies and television, like dramedy is my favorite genre of product, right? Like it's like
Actual good
it's comedy and drama together, but that doesn't lean
I think
into
it's
comedy.
all the same humor. Like it's all getting
Are we
homogenized, and we can't experiment with
Are we
it.
talking TV shows, stand
Any
up?
at all? No, not stand. I'm saying within film and television.
Because
Shoot.
I feel that with stand up. I mean, I don't watch a lot of live stand up. I definitely watch it on YouTube and stuff. But like, a lot of comedians are replicating the exact same style, and even their intonation is the same, and that sounds boring to me.
Yeah.
With TV shows, like I think of like these like my friend used to describe it as like mumblecore characters. There's a lot of like mumbling and like snide, sarcastic, whatever.
Yep.
Like that gets recreated all the time. And when it started, it was fresh, but now
Dude.
it's all kind of a milk toast version of it.
It's like what you just said. They're always snarky and mean to each other. No, like I don't know anyone who's actually like that in the real
And
world.
they're all the same typecast character
Yes.
Yep.
because the writers don't really know how to write anything else. And I sympathize. I don't mean to throw stones here, but like
From
you
the wall,
guys
you-
got to experience life outside your bubble, meet people who are different than you. That's how you get different personality
all
types.
the characters in any superhero TV show now are all just weird Joss Whedon ripoffs.
Yes.
It's all pop culture references
Yep.
that.
But it's because the method is tried and true, and so they aren't really being experimental. They're not stepping outside the comfort zone. Like we have bred a generation of creatives that are told risk taking is ultimately bad.
Yep.
Yeah, no, risk taking is bad. I'm trying to look for anything that I liked comedy wise or humor wise. TV. This is a few years ago, but that TV show I'm Sorry was hilarious.
Okay.
And we were new parents at the time. It's about new parents, so it might not be for everybody, but that was really good. And Andrea Savage was a star in that, and she's incredibly funny. And then I looked
South
up,
Park still does some
South Park.
fairly. I was watching the
Sometimes.
old clip today from the Hall of Stereotypes.
Yeah, it's great.
Incredible.
That show's great. And then I looked up like the top 20 comedy movies of last year. I don't know
Any of them?
Vacation Friends I've never heard of. Don't Look Up I know of. I didn't watch. That's a Jonah Hill movie.
Yep.
El Planeta.
Never heard of it.
Bad Trip. Don't know that one. Don't know Shiva Baby.
That's like the big problem with it is it's all so forgettable, right?
Yeah, 'cause
like
we're
I just watched
oversaturated.
Kick-Ass the other day for like the 100th time, and
Sick.
Kick-Ass is an absolute classic.
Yeah, yeah.
But you couldn't make that movie now. You
Right.
couldn't.
I like. When's the last time you remember sitting in a theater and really gut laughing with
Yeah.
the whole audience? It's
No.
been a
I
while.
don't know that I've ever. I honestly think the last time I did that, I was an actual child.
Yeah, I'm thinking The Hangover for me.
Probably.
The first Hangover.
Yeah.
Like everyone just on the floor. Like it was hilarious. I can't think of any others. That's
I can't think
sad.
of any.
Let's do super chats.
Okay, well, the first one is from I need to stop watching YouTube, and I don't personally care to read it. If you feel the need, Brett, I will leave it to the men in the room.
We can leave it alone. But thank you.
Now I want to know.
Thank you.
I'll show
I
you
need to
after.
stop
I'll show you
watching
when you're older.
YouTube.
when I'm older.
Let's see.
Caper 2X.
Brett, I'm coming. Just that it does the weird scrolly thing. You gotta give me a second. Caper2X says a virtual flower bouquet for Hannah Claire Brimlow for doing yeoman's work during Mary's absence. Oh, thanks, man.
Nice.
Sorry for being a rowdy crowd. No, absolutely not. I love it when people are rowdy. That is my favorite thing about doing this show. And I said it the very first time I was on IRL. I kept waiting for the money guns to go off because it's just a different vibe. And I also love doing IRL, but this is so fun to be in an interactive space. I don't know if you feel that way.
I love it.
It would be very hard to go back to not doing it live anymore because interacting and being able to talk to everyone in this way is just I treasure it.
There's
now.
a different energy live.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mostly that anxiety we were talking about earlier, but you know.
That's a perfect example of the
like
anxiety,
when
by
they
the
get passionate and like knowing the money guns are going off well because we read at the end of segments, and so knowing that you guys are invested and interested in what we're talking about, like I love it because I want to know what you think.
Yep.
The end of this says, may Brett heat the water on the dunking tank waiting for her one day.
That is right.
Again, I stand by my typical response to this, which is there is electrical equipment in here.
We are doing it outside.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
John Harrison says, remember when Brendan Fraser played a Colombian drug lord on the remake of Bedazzled? That was hilarious.
Right.
Say.
Also one of our greatest cavemen. Was he the caveman?
In Encino Man.
Yeah.
Encino Man is an absolute classic as well.
Classic.
See, maybe we need a Pauly Shore resurgence. Is he like a creep?
got a show.
I imagine he ended up like a creep or something.
No, he's got like a weird podcast, and it's like
Does he?
filmed oddly out of like in a bad angle, and they walk.
Is he the one that I was talking about? Like Jamie Kennedy.
He also has a weird
he has a
podcast.
weird podcast
Yeah.
as well. I was like, and he's like, he answers questions about being in the Scream movies. I love Jamie Kennedy. Jamie Kennedy was great.
Yep.
Waffle Sensei says, me, I know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. Robert Downey Jr., Tropic Thunder. This is the movie. I need this movie to happen.
See, that's the problem. Like, that Hollywood is full of cowards, and they don't realize. Like, I don't believe for a second that Jamie Foxx cares.
I wonder if we could just start. Everyone ask Jamie Foxx when this movie's coming out. Don't say if it'll come out. Say when.
Yeah.
It's like at the beginning of the lockdowns a few years ago when everyone willed the Michael Jordan documentary to come out.
Yeah.
Earlier than it was supposed to come out months after, and it came out early, and it was amazing. That was one of the greatest things about COVID.
Scottie Pippen has gotten like a resurgence from that too, like him and because they have like beef or whatever.
Yeah.
And now I saw him in a commercial recently. I'm like, he wouldn't be in a commercial if it wasn't for that.
If anyone ever, this is one of my favorite pastime things. Sorry for the tangent, but if you ever need like an uplift, if you have that anxiety and you need to get a little motivated, go onto YouTube and after you watch Pop Culture Crisis, find the Hall of Fame speeches from Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, and Michael Jordan. The best speeches ever. And they also have the best voices ever. Like the lowest of octaves.
It's a different world now. Everyone's voices are higher. Also, I want to point out another genre to die along with comedy is the glorious sports movie. I watched Hustle this year.
I've watched so many sports movies. That is the one type of movie that I do find myself regularly
watching. What's your
watching.
favorite one? Do you have one?
Well, I like Moneyball a lot. That's one of my favorites.
Any Given Sunday?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, because I'm from Minnesota, we had Little Big League, which was a baseball movie. We had Mighty Ducks. We had Mighty Ducks.
Mighty
2.
Ducks is a classic.
Little Giants.
Little Giants. Fun fact about Little Giants: the kid in the rollerblading movie Brink, who plays Val, is the same kid who plays Spike in that movie.
Nice.
And remember we had a super chat one time where I mentioned the annexation of Puerto Rico, and somebody totally got
I think
that
of We Are Marshall all the time now we're in West Virginia.
Yep. Or even here's a show, Friday Night Lights was an incredible TV show.
So good. Texas Forever. Mark Rainey said, I think you were thinking of 2.5 Men where Charlie writes jingles while Jamie Foxx works in his aunt's hotel and causes trouble.
Is that true?
Oh, Jamie Foxx used to write jingles. I gotta look that up. I remember that show too, though.
I don't know.
Well, he's been back in the news because of his ex-wife and his daughter having OnlyFans. So poor Charlie Sheen.
The Jamie Foxx show.
I think Jamie Foxx's daughter has an OnlyFans too. I'm not sure.
Does she?
I think both of them are dads to OnlyFans. I don't want to say stars, but definitely.
Maybe they are right.
Account holders.
Maybe they're right.
They're right. All right. We're gonna move on to Podluck, guys, and we've got a fun one today. It's a lot less serious. There's one more.
Lindsay says Jamie Kennedy popped up in Eureka. Oh, the nostalgia.
Wait,
Brett loves Eureka.
In what episode of Eureka? It must have been in one of the last.
We need a specific citation.
I need a
Brett
citation.
doesn't believe you.
No, I believe it. I'm saying I was talking. Lindsay, yes. Me and Lindsay talk about Eureka.
You talk about it with
I
Lindsay?
love that
They
show.
talk about it, Jane.
I love that show, and season 1 through 3 are absolute classics to me. So. And there's one more there from Darius Harvey.
It's just $99.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Darius did this last time. Darius is clearly the Lord and Savior of this show.
Darius knows that you've had a long, hard day.
Yes, he is. That is what I imagine that is for.
I feel bad because I feel like I am bringing slightly chaotic energy to this, even though I didn't cause the audio problems. And
woo!
I'm gonna miss this when I'm not co-hosting.
She's gonna be downstairs in the middle of the day and wondering I wonder because I wonder if they can hear it down there.
Well, there was a day that Brett got 5 because I had a record. I had 5 crisis parties in one episode when I was a guest, and then Dane got
7.
There was a day he had 5, or he was coming up on it.
Dang.
And someone texted me and was like, Dane is about to beat your record, which I was never I have a record, guys. But I was like, what? I'm going to break into the studio right now. And they're like, if he hits 6, you should definitely do that. Which is like, Brett doesn't actually like it when we disrupt the show. But when I told him this later, he was like, oh, no, you could have done that. That would have been a valid reason.
Oh, good to know.
That is a lot less heart-inducing, like problem-inducing than like audio issues.
Yeah.
Just saying.
For sure.
Me
sure.
just like kicking Dane out of the way to claim the title.
Yes.
I would love to see that.
All right, we're going to move on to Podluck, and this is a funny way to start things. It says Paris Hilton and the Hemsworths are trying to resurrect an extinct animal. I didn't know she was into eugenics.
Yeah, this is my favorite kind of rom-com.
Yeah. Paris Hilton, Tony Robbins, the Winklevoss twins, who I have no idea who.
What have they been up to?
I don't know
hell
who
are
that
they?
is.
Who the hell?
I don't know
They're
who
from
that is.
Facebook. They were the guys who like sued Mark Zuckerberg because he was like they said he stole or cheated them out of like Facebook stuff.
Oh, those
The
kids from the movie.
From Harvard.
Well,
from the
Tony Robbins, I didn't know Tony Robbins was still around either. Paris Hilton and the Hemsworth family have invested in Colossal Biosciences, which just sounds like an evil corporation for a movie that he would be in.
Mm-hmm.
What house party were they in? Where they were all like a little too tipsy and they were like, you know what's a great idea?
Game night.
We should do this.
One of my favorite tropes in Hollywood is like it's when they show like Hollywood or like rich people parties, and there's always the person who's like a douchebag saying something to another person. And there's one the other day in like an old episode of like, I think it was Burn Notice, where the guy's like, just think about this. He's like, China and air conditioning, millions of people, global warming, will be millionaires. And I want to start coming up with my own like really bad elevator pitches to start throwing around.
I'm sorry. What? There is someone who's running a pyramid scheme who went to this one Hollywood party and was like, guys, we've got to do it. This is a great cause for your brand.
Gates.
He's like,
this story is going to end up with someone being like, it turns out they all got scammed.
Yeah.
So it says they've invested in a company called Colossal Biosciences. Like I said, sounds like an absolutely evil corporation from a movie Hemsworth would star in.
Yep.
A Dallas-based company specializing in genetic resurrection.
Another phrase I don't like.
First for the woolly mammoth, and more recently for was it thylacine, better known as the Tasmanian tiger or Tasmanian wolf. Is that related to the Tasmanian devil?
I was wondering the same thing. I wonder if this is the same group that when they brought back the mammoth meat, sold it to the rich people who ate it. Do you know about that? That was like 5 or 7 years ago. About.
I wonder if that bitch Carol Baskin had anything to do with it.
Ooh, shots fired.
Ooh.
Cassandra's least favorite person.
That's
right?
an early pandemic reference too.
That is.
I never even watched it, but I understand.
I don't think anything will be quite the cultural reference that having everyone locked together, watching Tiger Kings was.
Tiger King. If only it were Tasmanian wolf.
Well, Tiger King kind of brought people together at a time when everybody was very divided.
Needed it.
Like
we all had one enemy.
Also,
they were all the enemy.
The true MVP of the pandemic was the Leonardo DiCaprio Django Unchained meme. That was the meme.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yes.
So it says the thylacine, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The thylacine was the last sizable predator to inhabit Tasmania. The wolf-like marsupial grew to 6 feet long. And weighed in the range of 50 pounds. After years of overhunting and prior I'm assuming that means, I don't know what that means, prior extirpations? Does anyone know what that means? Is that a spelling error I caught on We Got This Covered?
Yeah, it might be.
Extirpations? I have no idea. I apologize.
Keep going.
Complete excision or surgical destruction of a body part.
Okay.
It's a word.
In New Guinea and mainland Australia, it is a word?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm an idiot.
Brett really wants a typo.
Sorry,
in the
Colossal
article.
Science.
I was hoping for a typo so that I wouldn't look like an idiot, but I'm an idiot. That's fine. The last documented individual died in Tasmanian's Hobart Zoo in 1936. So who do you think was it? Like, I want to picture who the guy was. It's a guy from Dallas, so I'm picturing a guy in a cowboy hat. And he's there to pitch this to them at some Hollywood...
a Hollywood event.
At a Hollywood event. So out of all of those people, which one would be the most likely to find one opening, like living in their backyards? My guess is Tony Robbins.
I'd say Paris Hilton.
You think Paris Hilton?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like someone sends that to her as like a weird gift, and she unboxes it on her YouTube channel.
I'm a Paris Hilton fan.
Well,
I'm into Paris Hilton.
We're Paris Hilton fans here. Mainly because she's very Like
She hustles. There's like
does
no one.
She does
more.
not believe in self-care.
Also, she saw that Gen Z was excited about Y2K, and she was like, "I'm having a resurgence,"
Right.
and she timed so many projects to make that happen. It's been great.
Was that you that was on the episode the day when we were talking about her as a DJ, and it doesn't look like she's actually doing anything? Like she DJs, but it doesn't like look like she's never actually doing anything on the board. She's just kind of like dancing, and they're just like, I guess she's a DJ.
Sort of DJs, and also like kind of professionally goes to festivals. Like she has built a life for herself.
Yeah.
Well, on top of being a
Hotel
heiress, who's
Which probably has seeded her career. Let's be real.
Definitely had a little bit of help.
So I'm picturing maybe she gets like a little mini one to put in a bag,
Yeah.
like a
It's got
dog.
pink collar.
And then she goes, "That's hot."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In the animal says that's hot. So the animal's pretty cool looking. I say bring it.
No. Have you never seen Pet Cemetery? You
Bring it
don't
back.
bring.
No, I've never seen Pet
The
Cemetery.
Stephen King book.
Yes.
Okay. You don't bring things back and think it's going to be okay.
It's of course not going to be okay.
Never going to be okay. Never. Don't do this.
Horrible
and anything
idea.
called what is it called? Resurrection?
Yeah.
Genetic resurrection? Don't do that.
Just
That's an immediate no. Red flag.
like
Don't
you
do
say
that.
genetic resurrection and a literal lightning bolt and thunder should appear behind
Right.
you.
if you're at a Hollywood party and someone looks at you and says, "I've got this idea. It involves genetic resurrection."
Yeah.
Turn around and walk away.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing as like the same thing had to happen when they pulled the when we had cryogenics introduced, right? When they're
don't
like,
do that either.
There was a Disney Hollywood party when they're like, "Hey, Walt, guess what? We could bring you back once we solve the death barrier." And now his head is frozen in some.
That's what they're doing.
I don't know if that's actually true. If that's
No, I
just
think that's a myth.
Is that a
I
myth?
do think it's a myth.
it's such a consistent myth, though, isn't it?
It
a
is.
little
It's
bit
a really
true?
good one.
It's a
I
good
heard
one.
it was his whole body, though, not just his head.
No, I heard it was just his head.
I heard it was just his head as well.
Why would
but
it be just his head? That doesn't
it
make
was
sense.
probably true, and then there was a great campaign funded through Disney to
Commies
make
took
us
the
believe
rest of him.
it's not real, so they can keep
That's
his
not a very
head
effective
safe.
campaign. I believe
Because we all believe it.
But I
yeah.
think it's the whole body.
They
Yeah.
should. What if
Why would you freeze just your head? What's
you
that
can
going to
put
do
that
for
on
you?
anything.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
by the time they solve the death barrier,
Face
they'll
off.
be able to put his brain in somebody else's body.
Right. Like it would be a robot body.
Does he want someone else's body? He's going to have to adjust to
Probably
it. It's
doesn't
going to
care.
be
Probably
like
wants a new
weeks
body.
of physical therapy.
New body.
Be perfect.
Give Walt a new body, or hook up to Neuralink.
It's just turning into an
Do you think
inverted
Elon
world
Musk
episode.
bought his brain? He has
If
the
anyone
rights.
could, it
It's
would
Elon
be that.
Musk. There's some backdoor deals going on.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
All right, we have, believe it or not, we have more than one James Bond thing this week, and we have Tom Holland, who's now taken the lead to be the next James Bond. Remember when I said the other day I think they're whittling down these options so they can only fit a few people? Well, it really only fits now Reggae Jean Page and Tom Holland.
I fundamentally disagree.
I don't know if you want noodle-armed James Bond, but
Tom Holland?
Tom
Holland.
Holland,
Or the other guy's noodle arm.
No, Tom Holland is
To me,
a
they
little bit-
both seem noodle arm.
I don't know who the other one is, but this is just emasculated James Bond.
kind of, yeah.
Not
Like if
kind
you
of.
were like if this were like a movie of James Bond when he was at his elite boarding school, I could buy it.
Origin story.
Yeah,
Sad thing
I
is,
would get it.
The sad thing is that could end up totally
that
end up
could
getting
be
made.
it.
Basically,
Yeah.
they want somebody under 30 to play James Bond, and Tom Holland says, "I'm a big fan of James Bond," as if there's going to be another answer on like a late night talk show where it's like, "I don't really care about James Bond."
Yeah.
No,
Never heard of him.
no.
Exactly. So it's
Who would you want to play James Bond, Shane? I'm curious.
I stay by this. I said Ricky Gervais would
Ricky
be the best
Gervais.
James Bond. No, seriously though, I like Henry Cavill. He's one of my favorite actors.
too old. They want to go 30
He's
and
a
under.
beefcake.
They want to
Who
go.
That's the
cares?
case, right?
That's
No one
too
asked
big,
for
though.
their
James
age.
Bond is not a beefcake.
He's
James
not-
Bond
okay,
is in
I
shape.
take that back. When I think of beef, he's got the arms.
He would have to lose the arms
Okay,
to
he
play
could do
James
that.
Bond.
He could do
He
anything.
could keep the arms. Who knows?
Or Daniel Day-Lewis. Can we get Daniel
If
Day-Lewis?
Daniel
Method acting
Day-Lewis-
James Bond.
So-
Daniel Day-Lewis, James Bond is also a solid pick.
That's no.
I
Barnes.
personally like Cillian Murphy.
I love Cillian Murphy.
Couldn't you see him?
We're
being
not
a
having this
cool-
argument again.
Yes.
His eyes are too dead to play James Bond.
You are not a
no,
casting
I'm
director.
okay with
No.
that.
Ah, there we go.
I'm okay with dead eyes.
Dead Eyes, James Bond.
Someti-
It brings a whole
look,
edginess to it.
Some women like dead eyes, Brett.
Well, those women don't like it shaken, not stirred. So
Well, Brett doesn't like Dead Eyes. He wants a beefcake, but not too
No.
beefy.
exactly.
It's not a dead-eyed.
It has to be like halfway between beefcake and noodle arms. Ben
Got
Barnes.
stroganoff,
I don't
you
know
know?
who Ben Barnes is.
Look up Ben Barnes. That's who would be my pick. The other one
I
is
don't like him.
Reggae Jean Page.
I don't
No,
even know who
also
that
no to
is.
him.
They want diverse James Bond next, I'm sure. So we're gonna do that.
Who did you want? Ben Murphy?
No, Ben Barnes,
Ben Barnes.
an actor named Ben Barnes.
I was
Okay,
gonna say, this guy-
Reggae John Page
Could do
looks more like a James Bond type to me because he's got like the
Thank you.
cheekbones. Things are happening.
Ben Barnes? Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Pass.
Ben Barnes is
Immediate
ridiculous.
no.
Why?
You lost all credibility. He looks like he should be playing like
Sherlock.
Sherlock, or like a soccer player. Like he is not a James Bond.
Not a James Bond.
You're wrong.
You're
Just because
wrong.
he's got dark hair. He's not mysterious enough.
He is not mysterious
Reggae
enough.
is more mysterious.
Yes, he
we
is.
need mystery.
We need mystery.
I
Cillian
like
Murphy.
Cillian Murphy brings mystery because the dead eyes.
No.
I don't understand.
He would be a fantastic bad guy.
He has so
He
much.
would- he's got a point with that, and I always agree with him
my
with that.
my counterpoint here is that wouldn't it be nice to see a slightly anti-hero James Bond? And I
Perhaps.
think Cillian Murphy could pull.
Perhaps.
it
He's
off.
already an
Have
anti-hero.
on
we
the
done? Have
outside.
we done the anti-hero to death though?
I think not
I'm
with the
over
James
the-
Bond series. James Bond series is like the womanizer, slick.
Yeah.
Like he's
The original anti-hero.
right, but he's not
Sort
anti-hero in the like mysterious, slightly
For
dark
Queen
way
and
that-
not really country. Like,
Yeah, that's right.
like
That's a good shirt.
globalist James Bond.
That we don't want
Like,
that.
oh
Ben
my god,
Barnes
like
is
it's like
gorgeous.
him. Like he's like he does it for the World Economic Forum. Like,
Oh my goodness, that would be a
I
great
just want
villain
a
though.
James Bond who we don't like totally know what's going through his brain, you know? And I
Yeah.
feel
that
like
would be
Cillian
really
Murphy could
funny
fit.
if they have like a Klaus Schwab type dude playing
He's
the villain.
perfect.
Yeah.
That's a perfect villain.
Okay, so somebody did make the suggestion the other day was Richard Madden from Game of Thrones. He could do it. I was not a huge fan of him in Eternals, right? Was that the dude
No,
that was in
I don't agree
Eternals?
with this choice.
No, it's a no for me. Absolutely not. This guy should be in a pop band.
Actually, no. Yeah,
He's
he
in
could
98
do it.
degrees. It says right here.
Yeah.
This is
That
Nicolas
was him,
Cage's
right?
brother. yeah.
Richard Madden was not
No,
90.
are you
What?
kidding
You are
me?
wrong.
No, I'm
Do you
looking
guys
at-
not
I'm
understand who
looking at
James Bond
Google
is?
right
This is
now.
wrong.
So I should, or I would also like Kenneth Branagh to play a bad guy in a James Bond movie.
So-
yes, I remember.
Maybe
we talked about
maybe
this.
that's the more interesting discussion. Who gives a crap who plays James Bond? I want to know
Cillian
who gets to.
Murphy. Right.
I want to know who gets to play the cool bad
we'll
guys.
all agree it's
Yeah,
Cillian
I
Murphy,
agree.
and then I think that we can move on to casting the bad guys.
It is
Yeah.
not Cillian Murphy.
You
Hugh
are
Jackman.
wrong.
Can he be
Ooh,
James Bond? Is he too old? I want an old James Bond, like
no.
they did for Wolverine.
No.
Retired. We can either
Yeah.
have boarding school James Bond or we can have retirement home James Bond.
All right, let's talk since we all agreed that Cillian Murphy is not going to be
Since
James
he is
Bond.
100% the right
Let's
answer.
talk
Shane's
about-
on board.
I am.
Shane wants to talk about Kanye West getting ripped by fans for selling his new clothing collection out of trash
You're not a
bags.
fan. If
Go.
you're against this. I hate that article
You're a-
headline because if
You're
a
against
fan,
the article or you're against the trash bags?
I'm against the article because it's ridiculous. The fans are not that. If you're a fan of Kanye West, you're a fan of yourself. Everybody knows this.
Interesting,
That's
interesting.
a very
We love
It's
Kanye
the ultimate
here.
self-care.
yes. That's
Jail-
the ultimate self care.
I like I've been listening to a lot of old Kanye recently. I've been listening to Jesus, everything from College Dropout
Classic.
recently. Absolute classic.
Great times.
So, what don't you like about this?
I just think, first of all, the title, the headline here says fans. I haven't really read the whole thing, but I don't think fans really are
Fans
that
would not
bothered. It's
question
people
him?
online questioning it. And it also says trash bags. It's not really trash bags.
What are they?
They
Because
are
I'm-
construction bags or contractor bags. No, not contractor bags. Like giant, big black bags.
Contractor garbage
something,
bag.
He calls them something else, though. They're
Okay.
not garbage bags.
But contractor bags are like the heavy duty.
I think they're more like leaf
What do they
collecting
mean
bags.
selling out? Like when
I'm
you
going to
order
show
it,
people I'm going
Yeah,
to
somebody
show
show
the
me.
pictures
They're
of it
leaf
first.
collecting bags, guys, and I think that's beautiful.
They're like the giant
I think
IKEA
that's
They
bags.
do
art.
look like leaf
think that's
collecting
art.
bags are thicker than regular garbage
Yeah, like
bags.
contractor
Right.
bags are
Yes.
thicker.
Yep.
They're not trash bags.
But okay, so he is like, what do you mean? He's on the street selling them out
So
of
this is
that?
a Gap.
or-
This
It's
is
a
a
Gap.
Gap line.
So if you go to the Gap store,
They're in these
they're in
things?
these giant bags, and it's a pile of it. Whether or not that's cool or not, I don't know. I don't buy from
Because
the
I was gonna
Gap.
say, if you're accusing him of shipping them in garbage bags, like that's what all companies do. All that plastic that you get when you like order clothes
No,
online.
this is his idea of setting it up that way. I think what he said is that he wants people to just not care about it, just just take it out of the bag, and it is what it is.
I will say it feels a little bit more like if you were shopping, like if you were shopping to stock your own store, like when people
like wholesale.
like wholesale, or like
Yeah.
when you're a buyer for a store, like
right.
the storefront that they go to, or like the warehouses they go to, don't feel like this. And I feel
Kanye's
like
deconstructing fashion.
yeah,
in
or
there,
like he's
so
like
this
making
is
you
totally cool.
like the same way he was like Kim needs to up her game with style
Do you remember-
because that's the only way for her to like really build a name for herself.
And it worked.
He is making you do that too. You are your own wholesaler.
right.
Do you remember when he was going to do like the homeless fashion show?
Yeah.
Like it was like going to take place in like a certain part of like where the homeless crisis was really really bad,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what I love about it is, first of all, he unabashedly wears faded black, which I can't stand. I cannot stand faded
He's
black.
doing it to make you mad.
I almost think he is. I have
Direct
not,
target
Like, it is
to
like
you.
if you're wearing black, it should be like dark. I do not like faded, at least in jeans. That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Until I wear it too much.
But his jeans, like they look like they've been washed 500 times.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
But not 501. He wouldn't permit that.
would
It's
not
very
permit
90s. The faded black.
Yes. Oh, well, yeah. It's like watching, if you've ever seen the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and all the wayward kids who join the Foot Clan all have like faded black jeans.
And they look cool.
And they look cool.
And they look cool.
You got the Jimi Hendrix shirt on. It's all ripped, but it's not ripped because ripped was
Did
cool.
they buy it at Urban Outfitters? Like
No.
that?
It was actually ripped
stole it.
because they were living rougher lives. At
They
that
actually
time.
didn't pay $80
They stole
for
out
it.
of a giant bag beneath a bridge.
Exactly.
That's where Kanye West got his stuff.
Exactly.
So these are the clothes on screen. That hat should be thrown off a building. That hat is awful. That
Off a building? That's
off
going
a
to hurt the
building.
hat?
Yes.
Do you not understand
and fly
hats?
away in the wind, never to be seen again.
Throw it off a building.
That hat should never be worn by anyone. That hat just go.
Yeah.
Also, I don't like any of the clothes. I will admit. The shirt is far too short.
As a massive
And wide.
Kanye fan, and I will say this, I don't say this to a lot of people, I've been writing a novel about Kanye for 10 years.
Oh my
And
God.
I swear to God, it'll be out. And it's the best thing I've ever done, other than Tales from the Inverted World. But this fashion stuff, it does not speak to me at all. And I defend him all the time for everything, but this is not there.
It
for me.
runs literally counterintuitive to everything that I like. Like all my shirts, I get made fun. I used to get made fun of on the vlog because of the length of my shirts. Because I wear, Woo!
Oh, hey.
Thank you. Because I wear very long shirts.
We just kept joking that eventually Brett's shirts would get so long they would touch the floor.
It's like the old white T-shirt craze in ringtone hip-hop days.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
No, this hat is ridiculous. This hat is something that what's his name would wear from Diners, Drivers, and
Yeah, Guy
Fieri.
Fieri.
Maybe it's a collab.
maybe.
I don't mind.
Respect it.
I don't mind the hat, but I would not have been like, oh, that's a Kanye West hat.
I'm not jean jackets are a hard pass for me.
I love jean jackets.
That's for me.
Crazy.
But I don't
the thing
like.
is, like, would you look at this jean jacket and be like, Kanye West made this? Or would you be like, it is some random jean jacket the Gap is selling?
If I saw that jean jacket anywhere, I wouldn't buy it because I don't like the stuff on the little pattern thing happening on the shoulders. I like just a straight up, beat up, jean jacket.
Yeah.
Do you buy it beat up from Urban Outfitters? Or do you beat it up yourself?
I like it to be pre-beat.
You don't want to put in all that effort.
Yeah.
I do like that they're not garbage bags. They're construction bags.
Big difference, Brett.
There's a big difference.
Big difference. I like the idea that whatever it is, whether you like it or not, he's constantly a disruptor in whatever he's doing, whether you like it or not.
This is not new though. Who's the company that sold the pin or it was like they sold like a $500 paperclip?
Oh,
I don't know.
But are these expensive? Like, is it overpriced?
I'm sure.
I don't think it. I think he's made a point of saying it's not, but who knows?
I think this stuff is expensive. I remember doing an article that like T-shirts were like, it's not crazy expensive, but they were overpriced. Because if I'm remembering, this collaboration is Kanye West with Balenciaga at Gap. Like, it is a real crossover.
Wait, let's see.
Which maybe dilutes some of the creativity, right? Like, when we're saying, like, does this look like...
Oh, my God. It's way expensive.
What are we talking?
Freaking hoodie is $240.
Yeah.
The cargo pants are $220. Sorry, homie. I love you.
Hard pass.
But again,
this is not happening.
I think they're trying to be like, it's both Kanye West / Balenciaga at Gap. And it's like, still that you're actually diluting what's going on.
Oh, my God. He has a women's long sleeve bodysuit for $300.
Reasonable.
Reasonable.
I've been listening to the song "Never Let Me Down."
Yeah. Is that on the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. My favorite one on the first one is where he's rapping through the wire.
I was reading.
Oh yeah, that's because of the story behind that.
Literally rapping through the wire.
I was reading the story today about how luxury fashion brands are really concerned, specifically about like people in their late 20s in China, because they make up a bulk of like what they call like eccentric luxury purchases, if I'm using the term correctly. And it's this like they're the same people who are buying like $200 bucket hats. Like, I know people who get TikTok famous who are definitely looking for like
if there's
a Fendi bucket hat or like
the
whatever else. And I think Kanye West is also trying to hit a cross section where there's going to be some random American teenager who's like, Balenciaga, Kanye at Gap in my local mall. I can shell out $300 for this eccentric sweatshirt. Like, I don't know that he's ever going to be able to make a living off of this, but it also seems like he's trying to give access to this weird cultural phenomenon that like not everyone has access to.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying
Not
to
that he
think.
should,
Now I'm trying to think of like which one I try to get away from farther: a bucket hat or that Gap hat right there.
Bucket hats are super trendy right now, so I don't think you
get
get rid of them.
I don't mind the bucket hat so much.
Yeah, or a Mighty Mighty Boss Tones fan, or
I'm
anybody
not a
that
fan.
likes ska.
honestly,
No, thank you.
Both of them are disturbing to me. But looking at this these 4 things of the Yeezy Gap stuff, I will say they don't exist in 2022, which is kind of cool. Like they exist, they are kind of timeless, and I don't mean that in like they're amazing. I just mean if you saw someone wearing that Gap hat, you would think it was vintage. Or they got it from the 90s because it looks like something you got out of Pac Sun, which Kanye had worked with in the past when he did his Yeezus merch, which is some of my favorite merch he's ever
I also
done.
like the face mask that's like literally made for you to rob a bank with.
That's cool.
Like.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah, that's the only kind of face mask I like is the Kanye.
Also, can we
mask.
have 2022 fashion without a face mask in your collection? I'm not sure we can.
True.
Or what if he had it and he cut out the face? Like
that's
just
great.
like
for all the kids in band.
Yeah. That's how he disrupts the fashion industry.
I think this T-shirt is weird, like the cut of it, but I also think I would wear it. It's like slightly short but has longer sleeves, and I think I would wear the hat. But I just don't think I'd pay Kanye prices, and I don't think I would be like, oh yes, Kanye made this. I think I would think like some random millennial who got hired, or millennial Gen Zer who got hired at one of these companies made this.
I'm talking smack on the prices of this, but I'm also the person who bought one of his stem players. But the stem, but I love the stem player because
my gosh,
dude, that thing is like the coolest type of art to me because I can take any song from his records or anywhere, put them on there. And then I have like the stems are available to me, and I can make a whole new thing. I could sit with that thing for hours. Like it is such a fun.
It looks
thing.
like one
That
of
is
the
pretty
remote bombs from the game GoldenEye.
It does. And that's probably why I connect with it so much. Is that game was amazing. But it's that piece is amazing because for me it's like, again, I'm going to use the word deconstructed again. I think he's something he always does since Yeezus.
Then he should start selling Walkman again.
I love Walkman,
with
but
tapes.
you can't do on the Walkman what you can do with a stem player, where you can play the song, you can make it backwards, you can take out certain pieces, you could slow certain pieces down, take out the lyrics, you do whatever you want. And to me, that's like almost like what you were saying, where you turn into the wholesaler, you turn into the musician playing with it.
Okay.
It's ridiculous, I know, but at the time I was like, whatever, I just sold a house, I'm going to buy a stem player. That's the only thing I got from myself is a stem player.
Perfect.
So don't be mad at me, Kanye, for poo-pooing your Yeezy Gap. I got a stem player.
All right, we got one more thing I want to. This is just really funny. Mattel is suing Nicki Minaj because she made chips that have Barbie in the name, and of course Mattel owns the rights to Barbie. Barbecue honey truffle chips, which sound fantastic. Who doesn't love wrap snacks? No. Do they have wrap snacks where you're from?
No.
What are
I
wrap
don't know what
snacks?
that is.
If you go to
We
Philly,
know about stone walls. We
do
don't
they
know
build
about
stone
those.
walls with
if
them?
you go to Philly, you see a lot of wrap snacks. There's
What are
juvenile wraps. The different wrappers have their own flavors. Yes,
What?
yes.
Are they wraps like sandwiches? Or
No,
are they
no,
just like
chips.
Because it would be funnier to me if they were wraps.
I was
you know what
thinking
I'm
like
saying?
for like a blunt or a joint.
No.
Yeah,
Like
I
a
would have
wrap
seen that
paper,
one. I
right?
think someone has.
That does
Snoop Dogg
exist.
definitely has one. If he with Martha Stewart probably.
Snoop Dogg has his own personal blunt roller that he pays $100K a year.
Right. And I was on the road not too long ago going up to New York, and I saw in a gas station Snoop Dogg wine for sale. Right next to Martha Stewart wine for sale.
Well, yeah, they can't be separated.
Nah,
They're
it's amazing.
besties.
Yeah.
So it says Mattel is taking a snack company to court over a Nicki Minaj themed chip that shares the name with everyone's favorite plastic doll. And with the Barbie movie coming out next year, they've got to be high on their litigation right now. Legal documents obtained by TMZ show Mattel filed a lawsuit in federal court last week against snack brand Wrap Snacks, claiming that they made deliberate and calculated choice to launch a new product using Mattel's famous Barbie trademark. Well, the text is very, very similar, and also the color scheme very clearly evokes Barbie. Poor Nicki Minaj.
Poor Nicki. I've never said those words before.
Also, like, why? Like, this is obvious. You should have thought about this when you were branding it. Why did we not?
Why not do it?
Yeah,
No,
but,
why
like,
do it? Because
why
it
do
feels like this was going to happen either
seems
way.
unnecessary.
Why not reach out to Mattel? I mean,
That's what I mean.
Right,
I would
yeah.
totally get that one, but she clearly didn't, and also like so. Therefore, we all could have seen this one.
I like that
coming.
there's kind of like an insight to her ego. Where she's more Barbie than Barbie.
Oh.
Maybe that's what
It's
it
just
is.
pure narcissism. She's like, oh, I'm Barbie now.
I think it's like the Disney font. Like people don't realize that the Disney font is trademarked. Like you're not
Yeah.
supposed to use it commercially.
That's true. That's true.
Is that true?
Yeah. Of
Okay,
course.
but you can if it's like
Don't they show up?
satire? If like 30% is different.
Yeah,
it's
it has to,
it's
and I
okay
think
or
that's probably
something
what they
like
went
that.
off of. Like,
Is that really true about text? Like they don't just end up in font packs somewhere?
No, I mean, like a version of it will, if it's like Shane is saying, like you can have a certain amount of modification for satire for whatever, whatever reason, but like.
So it's not in like a
when
font pack
brands-
you can buy.
When brands lock down what their branding is down to the font, like especially one that's big as Disney, like they are not letting you use it without their consent.
So like that Star Wars font that's in like every font pack.
It's probably slightly off.
Okay.
Yeah, I would bet.
I don't know, but I think
Sometimes they release them. I mean, you have to like go through the process, but like
Yeah.
the Disney like the font, no, you can't. You can't use that and profit off it without their consent.
Right.
All right, let's do super chats.
Okay. Tacty Platty says, my girlfriend convinced me that our next series after we finish Terminal List will be Eureka. I've never seen it, but I've made her suffer through TVD.
I think you guys will
TVD?
both like Eureka a lot. And also, if you can find a place that's playing Warehouse 13, check that out as well. And Grimm, another one.
Oh,
that
Grimm was fun.
Grimm is fantastic.
I didn't finish it, but I liked it.
It gets less like all shows get less enjoyable once you get into the later seasons.
Yeah.
But
Except for The Leftovers, the best
all-
show ever
all-
made.
Another show that a guilty pleasure of mine that I've been rewatching recently is the remake of MacGyver. It's so
watch it.
bad, but
Didn't watch
I
it.
just George Eads is hilarious to me.
Lindsay 2X was talking about season 4, episode 4.
The Jamie Kennedy episode of
What was TVD?
The Vampire Diaries.
I'm sorry. I have a
How dare
Vampire
you.
Diaries super fan here. I didn't even. I forget that sometimes. Caper2X says the Tasmanian devil is a different animal.
Well, that's too bad.
Is it?
Yes,
Bring
it is.
back.
What would you bring
the
back if
Tasmanian
you could
devil.
bring one?
I wouldn't because I don't trust it.
Fair
You
enough.
never do it. But if I could, I don't know. What? I don't know.
I don't even know what animals are extinct.
Maybe the dodo bird.
Oh,
that's a
yeah, let's go.
classic.
Well, then the bird gets like copyrighted because the dodo exists now, and the YouTube channel
Can't even
just
exist.
hits the bird with like it's got to be
Maybe
like the
an animal rights group will sue on the bird's behalf.
the bird will
Ooh.
have to change its spelling to like DOE.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bad App says, I want to pop shove it with Brett and Val. I don't know.
Val is from the movie Brink, played by Sam Horrigan. Pop Shove It isn't really relevant to me because I don't skateboard, but
Close.
close enough.
Yeah.
We're good.
There's wheels.
There's wheels.
Chris Poole commented, although he didn't super chat, that this is more Jurassic Park than Pet Cemetery.
True.
Just
it's
another
true.
contrast.
It's
Because
true.
that also ended well.
And
That's true.
plus, we know that exactly.
That, thank
That
goodness,
didn't-
gave us a
also didn't
6
do
They
movie
well.
series.
always proves that they always learn their lesson.
Yeah.
they
Very
never
true.
make the same mistake twice.
Darth Doza says, you have the best rabbits.
I don't know what that means.
I love
But
when people have their own inside jokes.
Rabbit, like maybe it's like we go down the best rabbit
our
holes.
rabbit holes? That'd
I
be
don't know.
funny.
Maybe.
I
I had
do
buck
feel
teeth
like-
as a kid, so I'm always self-conscious about
Really?
maybe it's my buck teeth. People call me rabbit.
Tacti Patty says, Brett, how about Richard Madden, a.k.a. Rob Stark?
That would be fine, but
For James Bond?
For James
Oh,
Bond.
we got a second one. Nathan Frankie says, I can't read. I don't know how I'm alive. Okay, Richard Madden says he says Richard Madden for James Bond.
Could be.
Again, absolutely not.
I don't know
There's
how
only one
old.
right
How
answer.
old is? I think I looked it up. He was born in. He was my age, so I think he's a little too old. Yeah, he's like a month younger than me. He's born in '86. So they want somebody who's like 30-year-old James Bond. Plus, Richard Madden just looks like generic Sebastian Stan, anyways.
A Liaison says, I did the math and Googled actors born after 1992. First result that came up was literally Ezra Miller. I'm telling you guys, he ticks all the boxes.
What could go wrong?
Also, talk about noodle arms. Come on, team. That guy is weird.
I'm telling
and
you.
also definitely not the right.
Okay,
Good
fine.
point.
Then we can settle for what's her name from?
No. Immediately, no. We're not gender swapping James
We're-
Bond.
we're-
Not James
Demi
Bond.
Lovato.
Yes.
No.
What's her name from Juno?
Ellen Page.
No.
Elliot Page.
Take
Elliot
it
Page.
off
What?
YouTube.
I said it.
Uh,
Sorry.
Good old
obviously,
E Page,
Sorry,
am I
pop
right?
culture.
obviously we're kidding.
Taika.
Taika Waititi.
Taika Waititi. Oh man.
Javi J says, have movies taught us nothing? Nothing brings back the dead. You should not make deals with the devil. You should not pull Superman's cape, and you should not mess around with Jim.
This is true. You should not. There's a great episode of the show The Librarians where it's about like this town where like the leader of the town made a deal with the devil and like back in the day, and whoever takes over the town next also has to ink a deal with the devil, and the whole episode is trying to
They
figure
also
out how
ink
to.
the different deals with the devil.
Yeah, they all have, like whenever
He's
the,
like franchising this town.
Yeah. Basically, the devil is like he signs them to a bad contract every time they
hilarious.
do
The
it.
deal is that
It's-
they have to then recruit someone for his triangle scheme or his pyramid scheme.
It's basically, but no, basically, like, as soon as that guy dies, it's like in the family. Then the next heir in the family is like takes over the town because it's like a really small town, and then the devil sidles up to him and like makes them sign the contract. It's great.
Thousand Foot Deep End says, if they did freeze Walt Disney's head and brought him back, he'd take one look at what they've done to his company and immediately die again.
That
That's
is
true.
110%
He'd be like,
true.
I'm out. This wasn't worth it.
He's like, where's McCarthy? What?
Find my review online of Mary Poppins 2. Probably the meanest thing I ever wrote.
Really?
Why would we make sequels of that? Do you think that show
Can't
needs a
touch
sequel?
the perfect movie. My God.
All right, guys. Shane, give let everyone know where they can find you and give them a shout out for what you're marketing right now.
Sweet. Well, thanks for having me on. First of all, it was a pleasure being on both.
As
you guys.
always.
Yeah. I'm Shane Cashman everywhere, and you can find Tales from the Inverted World at timcast.com. And if you haven't signed up yet, you should. We have the first 2 episodes of this season. They're free on YouTube and Spotify and Apple. And if you get hooked, you can find it on Timcast. And it's a pretty crazy season. I get my life threatened. I see a UFO. I sneak into cemeteries, look for lost gold. It's a pretty wild story. So I hope to see y'all there.
Perfect, dude.
Yeah.
Perfect. And is there any news coming up with more involving the project? Or?
Oh, yeah. I'm already working on part 3.
Perfect.
But that's top secret.
Perfect. All right, Hannah Claire, we got a couple of super chats, and then let's go.
Okay. Bobcat says, why does Superman even wear a cape? That's got to be a tripping hazard or something.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't need it to fly. Why does he wear it?
I just remember from The Incredibles when they're like, capes are dumb, and they show like a superhero flying by a plane and they're getting sucked into the engine. Okay, and then Terrence Rice said, now hear me out, Snoop Dogg as Double O Dizzle.
Technically, if it was 007, it would be 00 Sizzle, which is even better.
Yep. We're into this. Start a petition.
There's also one more. Bad App would like Shane to he wants to add Shane to the Sassy Gay Boys.
Right.
We did an episode last week.
Perfect.
Yes, that's
There's no questions. No questions asked from Shane.
Perfect. Let's
I'm
do it.
in.
Let's
Do you want to know who else is in the club? Or
I don't think I need to know. I'll find out when I go. No, who is in the club?
Perfect. All right, Hannah Claire, let everyone know where they can find you.
You guys can find me on timcast.com. Click on the read tab to see what I'm writing as well as the rest of our awesome news team. You can find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. You can find me on Gab at hannahclaireb. And you can, after this, no longer find me on Pop Culture Crisis, except for maybe when Brett has me back as a guest. It's been a ball. Tuesdays, okay.
Yes.
Still have it.
He's looking so pained over there.
I'm very saddened by the fact that you think you're just not going to be on anymore.
I don't know, man. I had a hostile takeover. There was like technical issues. Maybe I brought bad vibes. Anyways, it's been so fun hanging out with you guys all week. Mary Morgan is back tomorrow. And yeah, that's it.
Perfect. Guys, again, I apologize for the technical difficulties today. It was not the episode I imagined it to be, especially when you get excited about a specific topic, but we powered through it.
It was a fun episode.
Was it fun?
It was a really fun episode, yeah.
So we make do with what we have to do when bad things happen, and that's the best part of it. And we've got one more super chat there. Why don't you read it? Oh, you closed her. I'm going to read it. 1,000 Foot Deep End says, no capes. Edna Mode from The Incredibles.
Best fashion advice of all time.
All right. So, again, I apologize. We will be back, hopefully, with no technical difficulties tomorrow. Mary Morgan will be here to make sure that nothing bad happens. She will oversee that, I am sure. But for now, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic for the show. Monday through Friday, barring any technical difficulties, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube. That is noon Pacific. We are also on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify, if you would prefer to listen rather than watch, which after today, I don't know why you would when you can watch me suffer through trying to figure all this stuff out.
Watching Brett panic, I do have to say, like, comes with his own, it's very entertaining. I don't like it when Brett is upset, but
I don't like it.
He's a very flustered man.
I'm glad it happened. I'm glad you got it all worked out though.
My cortisol level's already dropping.
Yeah.
We are also on social media, Twitter at @popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We will be back with a technical issue free episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys.
You cursed yourself.
Bye.
Cursed yourself.
Wow.